Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 357. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Number one, how dare you? Number two, how dare you?
I didn't even mean that. Do you know what? I was thinking of him because I was thinking in a second I'm going to complain that he didn't show up for TV news last night, and then just generally complain about his absence. But I was thinking ahead, and it got in the way of the intro. I apologize, Matt. That was a cardinal sin.
You've accused me of some very bad things, but calling me Connor's the worst.
Yes. This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about the week's DC Comics that we read. So coming up on this show, we have Titans issue 1, we have Batman, The Brave and the Bold issue 1, Superman issue 4, The Flash 799, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 15, Batgirls issue 18, The Vigil issue 1, Cyborg issue 1, and that's it. That's the whole list. So there you go.
It's a pretty meaty list.
It is a pretty meaty list. So we got 3 issue 1s, well, 4 issue 1s actually to look at. Yeah. Although full disclosure, we didn't read all of Brave and the Bold. We read the main story because we wanted to read that, and we didn't necessarily really want to read the rest of it, but especially in a week where it was the 8th book. So that's what it is. But we had to read the Tom King and Mitch Gerads story. There was just no way we weren't doing that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe since I do have the issue, maybe I'll read it next week, because I'm looking at next week and it's not as packed.
Oh, it's next week quieter, yeah.
So it's a bit quieter, so.
Well, not only is there a nice healthy list of books, there's also solicits to deal with this week, so we're going to get into that as well. So exciting stuff, but of course, as you know, Matt, there is always a slice of time to carve out for the ComiXology top 10 of the week.
Sorry, you're batting 1,000 with your words today.
That's okay.
If I didn't know you any better, I'd ask if you'd had a head injury recently.
I don't know. I'm already a little bit hungry, so by the time we get done with this Mammoth episode, I'm probably going to be like...
More on Mammoth and Cyborg.
Oh, of course. Would surprise me. I don't know. We're starting a little bit later this week, so I'm a little worried it'll be too late to order food by the time we're done. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
If we need to take a break, if you're feeling like you need to order, then we can always do that.
I can order while you're talking. It's not. Yeah, I've done it before.
I am long-winded, so.
I'm not necessarily definitely going to, but I've got a feeling that I'm going to be desiring such a thing come the end of this show. It's just a feeling I've got. But we'll get into the ComiXology top 10 to start off with. We'll look at Tuesday, which is DC's books, and then the Wednesday for the rest of the week. This is just the current rankings at the time of recording, which is Saturday, usually Saturday in this case anyway, for the books on ComiXology, which is just Amazon/Kindle/ComiXology or whatever the actual website is called these days. So without further ado, would you like to guess the number 1 selling DC comic as of right now on ComiXology, Matt?
I'm gonna guess Titans.
It is Titans. New number 1. You got that Tom Taylor cachet.
Nicola Scott on the art. It's
there's a lot.
1-2 punch of awesomeness.
His Nightwing's been doing pretty well, so it makes sense that his Titans would be hot out of the gate. Number 2 is Batman Brave and the Bold, which is an $8 book, but it does have that main story with the creative team who did Mr. Miracle and Doctor
the Riddler.
And the Riddler one shot. I was thinking Strange Adventures.
Yeah.
I almost said Doctor Strange, which I've made that mistake before.
Yes.
Dr. Adam Strange.
They hype that up a lot online, but also you think you're paying for the Gerads art, but you're really paying for the Tom King art in there.
So yeah, I got number 2. Number 3 is Superman issue 4. Number 4 is World's Finest. Number 5 is Cyborg issue 1. Number 6 is The Flash 799. Number 7 is Wonder Woman 799. And number 8 is The Vigil issue 1. Number 9 is Black Adam issue 11. And then number 10 is Batgirls issue 18. So top 10, pretty reasonable. Catwoman not making the top 10. That's number 12. So Yeah, still a healthy week of books. It's nice to see those number ones all sort of sprinkled in
Yeah.
that top 10. Especially you get something like the Vigil. Just completely new team. You don't expect that to do gangbuster numbers by any means.
Yeah.
But
It's not like it has a banner associated with any character either.
no.
Like, yes, they had their debut in was it Lazarus Planet first? Yeah. So
Yeah, one of those
yeah.
one shots, yeah.
Yeah, they're not tied, even though they did pop up in tech. But so yeah, I mean that's good. I mean MV. Still
Okay.
waiting on my Savage Shores to come through my shop. Ordered that like 2 years ago. I think they keep selling it and they keep forgetting to tell me it's in. So fun times.
So that's DC's top 10 right now. So we'll look at Wednesday. Any guesses to what the number one selling book from Wednesday is?
Hold on. What's the new banner? I'm not seeing a new banner. So I'm just gonna guess X-Men 22.
Incorrect.
Ooh.
For UC Matt, there was a new issue 1 this week.
Oh, shoot.
Which
It's not showing up.
was
Avengers?
It's Avengers issue 1 by Jed
There it
Mackay
is.
and Stuart Immonen. So big new number 1 launch. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, so I don't know what the reception
Me
is on
neither.
it. But so that's number 1. Number 2 is X-Men 22. Number 3 is X-Force issue 40. Number 4 is Fantastic Four issue 7. Number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 6 is Hulk issue 1. Or sorry, Hulk Annual,
Annual.
I should say.
Yeah, I saw Johnson's name on there, but I think they're taking over. I think he's taking it over Incredible Hulk. So I might have to check that out when that drops.
Yeah. Well, I think we knew that anyway, that he's taking over.
Well,
Hulk.
yeah, but his name is on the bottom, so I almost picked it up at the shop.
Ah, okay.
So I think he might have a story or something in there.
Yeah, it's an annual, so he probably has the backup
Yeah.
or something setting up
Yep.
his thing. Number 7 is She-Hulk, issue 13. Number 8 is Miles Morales Spider-Man. Number 9 is Captain America Sentinel of America. And then number 10...
Sentinel of Liberty.
Sentinel of Liberty. Then there you go.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, the title's cut off. I just made a guess.
Sentinel of
it
America.
literally says Captain America Sentinel of ...
Yeah.
And I just thought I'll take a guess. 'Cause
Yeah.
the font's kind of hard to read on the little cover, without clicking on it. I thought I'll take a shot.
And the red on red doesn't help either
Yeah.
on the cover. So.
Number 10 is Venom issue 19. So that is an all Marvel top 10. So they had a lot of books out this week.
Yeah.
Just to highlight some things after that, because there is some non-Marvel. In fact, almost the next 5 are all non-Marvel, barring
Okay.
one. Well, again, I do this all the time. Technically, Star Wars is still Marvel, but you know what I mean. Star Wars High Republic. The new issue of Power Rangers is in there.
Was that 108? Is that one?
Let me click on it and find out. Yeah, 108. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's there. There's a Star Trek issue here. It's a Star Trek the Motion Picture Echoes. So they've all got their motion picture outfits on. So that's cool. The Sonic comics, the number 15. So yeah, there's a lot of like licensed stuff out this week as well. It seems to be doing right. The Predator book that's coming from Marvel right now, issue 3 of that is out. Yeah, maybe I'll go back and give that a try. I don't know if Ed Brisson's a name that gets me excited necessarily, but
I don't know, but maybe. I mean, the covers look cool. So
yeah.
at least the art looks like it's gonna be worth it.
Because I read that Alien issue 1. It only makes sense I'd try the Predator book as well, but
Right.
I wasn't as aware of it as it was coming. But cool. Jeff Lemire's book Little Monsters issue 13's was out this week as well. That's down here in the chart somewhere. So a bunch of stuff. There's a Planet of the Apes comic up right now as well, apparently. I'll
Cool.
take your word for it. So there you go. That's the ComiXology top 10. So we'll get into the solicits, because obviously, I mean, admittedly, I do think this will be a quicker solicit than normal, because this is going to be the second half of all of the Night Terrors books replacing most of the main stuff. So that is just going to be a list of names, basically, as we come to them. As predicted, though, so this is the solicits for September, but as we predicted last week when they announced that Doomsday special, which is at the end of August, they've snuck in a couple of books at the end of August on its 5th week. But we'll work through the solicits. September, here we go. We get Action Comics presents Doomsday Special issue 1 by Dan Waters and Eddie Barrows. We talked about this when it was announced last week, so that's cool. What we haven't talked about yet is Nort's Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, issue 1.
Oh my goodness.
Which is a 48-page one-shot coming in that last Tuesday in August. And it's written by Steve Orlando and others, but the art is by a long list of names, which I assume are a lot of one-shot, or a lot of one-page, like, pin-up style.
Yeah, a lot of pin-ups, because it says collecting some of the steamiest swimsuit covers from DC's best talent. So, yeah. Y'all want to get bonked, go ahead and get this issue.
Yeah, wild stuff. Obviously, not something that we're going to look at, really, because it's a bit of a gimmick, but if you're into it, by all means, go and enjoy your...
The cover that they have here is hilarious, because it looks like Nort is blow-drying himself with a Green Lantern construct after going swimming, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So let's move on to World's Finest, issue 18, which has got a nice cover by Dan Mora. It's got that split thing where half of it's Superman, half of it's Batman, and they're, looks good. Travis Moore on art on this issue, which is a solid artist, actually. Obviously, Dan Moore is off to do other things at this point, but Travis Moore is a solid replacement.
And he did the Robin Back in Time issue.
Yeah, and he's done some. I think he's done some of Taylor's Nightwing, I want to say.
Yep.
Stuff. So, and that was always a good fill in for the regular art. So, we got Steelworks issue 3. We have Superman Annual, which is for August. Are these all August books? Oh,
I think they were. I didn't want to correct you because I wasn't sure, because the first couple. So I think this is August.
This is August Solicits. I could have sworn we'd already had August Solicits. Well, because that's why I said last week we were getting books for the end of August. So okay, fair enough. We're on August Solicits. Clearly, I have just lost track of everything here. I wonder how many people were waiting for me to realize. Like, when's he going to realize that this is actually just all August Solicits?
The further we went down, the more I was seeing August, and I was eventually going to say something. But yeah,
I was too scared. I was too scared of me whipping him out of place.
Well, yeah, because he constantly yells at me, "Don't correct me on air." So
I have never said that in my life. You're making me sound like a tyrant, Matt.
You guys see how he acts?
How dare you? So we got Superman Annual for 2023 coming out at the end of August, which is Williamson writing with a few artists on there.
Strar, Max Raynor, Jack Herbert, and Caitlin Yarsky. So
yeah. So it's obviously teased the next Star. It's going to do a bunch of stuff, but I do prefer when it's the ongoing writer who's on the annual as opposed to... I still have nightmares of that Aquaman annual that came out during Kelly Sue's run, but it wasn't her doing the annual. It was just some random fill-in story, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat sometimes thinking about annuals like that.
That's how much Pete dreams of Aquaman.
Aye. What can I say? I like to get
It's not
wet.
even Momoa Aquaman, so,
No, not at all. Yeah. I love how Matt just talked over my really dirty joke. I'll just move on.
You're welcome.
It was about getting wet, everyone, okay? All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Right, Night Terrors issue 3, Night Terrors issue 4, obviously the 2-month mini event. And then, of course, Night Terrors Night's End issue 1. So this is a one-shot, not part of the two-shot things that have already been announced. This is by Williamson with Howard Porter on art. So this is tying into the story. So they're giving us more tie-ins to read, so thank you for that, DC.
I'm reading these solicits, and after reading Superman 4, there is not a villain that Williamson will not create that doesn't have Doctor in their name.
So yeah, just to run down all these Night Terrors issue 2s, which are all the tie-in two-part series that we obviously talked about last solicits. We got Night Terrors, but I'm not even going to say Night Terrors, right? Just assume Night Terrors is in front of all these titles. Batman issue 2, Detective Comics issue 2, Nightwing issue 2, Poison Ivy issue 2, Catwoman issue 2, Harley Quinn issue 2, The Joker issue 2, Robin issue 2, oh that's a crowbar, very good, Superman issue 2, Action Comics issue 2, The Flash issue 2, Wonder Woman issue 2, Titans issue 2, Shazam issue 2, Green Lantern issue, that's a pretty cool cover on Night Terror's Green Lantern issue 2 to be fair, Black Adam issue 2, Angel Breaker issue 2, Zatanna issue 2, Punchline issue 2. It's not alphabetical, and I thought Zatanna might be the last one. Ravager issue 2, and that's us. That's the Night Terrors stuff done. We did it. Okay.
We did it.
Yes. How many of those issue 2s will we read? Well, it depends how many those issue 1s are good. So we'll find out.
Yep.
We'll find out in July.
Well, I mean, Mary Marvel apparently stars in the Shazam one, so I'll definitely be reading both of those.
Oh, there's definitely some. Obviously, some of them have good creators on them, some of them less exciting. But I imagine I'll try most of the issue ones, and we'll see like which ones we want to read for the next month. I mean, my bigger worry is that I'm just going to hate the main thing.
Yeah.
Because Williamson is chipping away at my faith in him. More on that later. So we have the Penguin issue 1. This is Tom King's book. So we heard this be announced or talked about recently. Art by Rafael de la Torre. And so this is a... Does this say how many issues it is? Is this not a mini?
I don't think so.
I assumed this was like a 12-issue Tom King thing.
Yeah, usually it says down here of, and there's no of, so...
Yeah, weird. There's also a Penguin issue 0.
Which we talked about. That's the backups from Zdarsky.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, that's quite right. So, yeah. Anyway, obviously, new Tom King book. Who, like, quite frankly, at this point, his track record is so exceptional. Barring Heroes in Crisis, which feels less his fault and more just kind of like the overall direction he was told to go in. And yeah, his Batman run did also kind of falter. But I also do have to wonder how much of that was also like, you can't do this, you have to do this, you have to set up this, like, not that I'm saying it's not all on him. I think like the Nightmares arc, for example, does feel like just one of his ideas that wasn't that great. But by and large, like, his track record at DC at this point is pretty exceptional. And again, more on that later.
Especially on stuff like this, it seems like hard-boiled, gritty type stuff too. So... should be good. I loved his Penguin in the Clock one. The hell was that one called?
Killing Time.
Killing Time, yeah. So his Penguin was pretty vicious in that. So let's see how retired Penguin is now.
Yeah, it sounds good. So we got Hot Girl issue 2, so that's the 6-issue mini that's starting the prior month, obviously. We have Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 5. I'm glad at least some of these books I'm enjoying aren't taking a break. So that's nice. We have World's Finest Teen Titans issue 2. So this is
such a great cover.
That is a pretty fun cover. But is that Raven's head over the spooky house?
I think so.
Yeah.
But it feels, because it's Somni, so it feels properly Silver Age, but also new.
It looks kind of Scooby-Doo. I feel like Scooby-Doo would be out of place on that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to that series. And we got Adventures of Superman John Kent issue 6. This is Tom Taylor wrapping up his miniseries and his time on John Kent in general. We have Superboy the Man of Tomorrow issue 5. We have Batman the Brave and the Bold issue 4, which is the Tom King and Gerads story already done by issue 4?
Looking like it.
Yeah, I guess that's only 3 parts. Okay, fair enough.
Although they were introducing the brutal Mr. Baseball, so and it's Dennis Culver, not Williamson. So if it was Dr. Baseball, it was definitely Williamson.
I don't know which writer has a a history of baseball themed villains.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Tales of the Titans issue 2. Teeny Howard.
This is the Raven one.
Yeah. And then we got Spirit World issue 4. We have the Vigil issue 4. We have City Boy issue 4. All makes sense. They all started the same month. That line of books. And then we got Catwoman Uncovered, which I assume is just a series of covers given the title. Yeah, it makes sense. Same with Poison Ivy Uncovered. And then we have...
I have a spare $6.
Of course you do. Then we have Batman Beyond Neo Gothic issue 2, Harley Quinn Black, White, and Redder issue 2, the Riddler Year 1 issue 6, which is the end of that book. And then we have Batman White Knight Presents Generation Joker issue 4, The Sandman Universe, Night Country, Glass House, issue 4. Peacemaker Tries Hard, issue 4. Batman Incorporated, issue 11. Batman The Adventures Continue, season 3, issue 8. Don't have a whole lot to say in a bunch of these because obviously they're just these are the books we usually don't have much to say on. It's just they've taken away all the books we normally do have something to say on.
Right, because they're night terrors now.
They're night terrors, yes. Danger Street issue 8 though, that's a cover. That's a spooky cover for night terrors.
Very, very scary cover. There's some
Danger Street is what it is.
Yeah. Especially considering that's Fornes, which doesn't really look like Fornes, so
no
props.
No. It's not here, but there's a variant cover by Mike Grell, which is an interesting
which I'm assuming has to do with Warlord, considering this is book 8 titled Warlord.
That makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. So that's cool. And then DC Ruby, issue 7, Fables 161, Multiversity, Harley Screws Up the DCU, issue 6, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, 1, 2, 3, Static, Shadows of Dakota, issue 6, The Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, issue 11, The Omega Men, issue 3, Facsimile Edition, Wildcats, issue 10. That wraps up all the single issues. After that, there's Nice House in the Lake Deluxe Edition, so the nice hardcover of that coming out. There's a Ghostmaker / Clown Hunter by James Tynion the Fourth trade. Now,
Whack.
I love Tynion, but if there was ever a book of his stuff to not appeal to us, I mean, I don't really mind Clown Hunter, but Ghostmaker, I could, yeah. This is all the backups from like one of his Batman arcs, plus like stories from Joker Warzone, and all those just all those loose stories that were about one of these two, effectively during his run. So
all in one convenient place for me not to read.
Yes, nice, easy to ignore. There's Deceased Deluxe Edition, the first series, which makes some sense. And then we got DC Horror Presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of Undead collection. We have Power Girl Returns by Leah Williams, so that'll be the Action Comics backups, I assume, plus whatever else is relevant.
Plus Lazarus Planet, Assault on Krypton 1, and Power Girl Special 1. So
there you go.
It'll be that whole introductory thing in one spot. You might pick that up too.
Connor's favorite book, Tim Drake Robin, Volume 1, Mystery at the Marina.
Talk about Scooby-Doo sounding.
I know, it does sound like a Scooby-Doo story. Wonder Woman Blood and Guts, the deluxe edition. So this is just the... How many issues is this?
Azrael and Chang.
Well, yeah, but that's not the whole run, though.
It is Wonder Woman 0 through 12, featuring a brand new cover. So
that's a third of the run. So do you think they're going to do 3 volumes of this in this format?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. They're gonna keep bleeding that dry.
Because I don't feel like any part of that run's like works on its own. Like it feels like you either read the run or you don't.
yeah. Well, and that's why I think they'll always be printing it in different versions like this, is because it is pretty standalone. It's a very unique Wonder Woman story. So, oh no, where'd he go? Every time he leaves, I always feel like Garth in Wayne's World, but I can't go. Look over there.
Calm down. It's all right. Batman and Robin Eternal Omnibus. Oofed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the weekly series from the New 52.
Oof.
And that was the second weekly series because Batman Eternal was first, if I remember right. Zatanna and the Ripper Volume 1.
Why has Zatanna got brown hair?
She's got blonde tips. She's got like a fade.
Yeah, but her hair is usually dark, like jet black.
I don't know. She's tried something new. People try different hairstyles.
True. But I wonder if it has to do with the story of taking out Jack the Ripper. So, man, I might want to read this. This might seem good.
There's a Dead Boy Detectives omnibus coming. 800 pages.
Do not drop that on your foot, please.
Static Up All Night is, I think that's one of the original graphic novels, I want to say. And then we got Batgirl Year 1 new edition, so it's nice to reprint that because it's a very, very good story.
Okay, I've never read it, so this might be the time.
Yeah. Oh, this is just a paperback though. It's not like a fancy deluxe or anything, which is a shame.
It's okay. Then after that, we got a Batgirls Volume 3, which is more of the current arc.
I heard you panic as I was leaving to close the door. Yeah, what's that? 13 to 19 and the annual. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The series is going up to issue 20. What's happening to issue 20 if it's not in this trade?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Did they just give something away?
I don't know. I've not looked at the description yet.
Don't read the description then, because I feel like it just gives something away. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's probably just a mistake there. It's probably supposed to say 13 to 20. Plus the annual, just because. So
that's 8 issues. That's about a trade, right?
Yeah, I mean it's slightly bigger than normal, but it's not like unheard of by any means. Because unless issue 20 is like really separate, but it feels like it won't be. It feels like it'll just be the end of the arc based on what we've been reading. So.
Be a nice goodbye.
Nightfall Omnibus Volume 1, a new edition. Yep. So they're reprinting the Nightfall Omnibuses, which is cool. Big collection there. You got Batman Volume 4, The Cowardly Lot. This is the Tynan run. Paperback Volume 4. Batman One Dark Knight, the Black Label book's getting its soft cover. So that makes sense. Batman the Golden Age Omnibus Volume 10. I love that they've been committed to this and that they've gotten to Volume 10 in these big chunks, because this is going to have Batman 86 to 100 and Detective Comics 211 to 232. So you could now have the first 100 issues of Batman plus all the Detective Comics that were running alongside it in sequential order and nice big hardcovers. Like everything should be available. Everything. And hopefully that means that these are all like making their way to like nice remastered digital versions as well for the service or whatever. So all very cool. DC Horror presents Soul Plumber. That's getting its collection. Harley Quinn Volume 2. Soft cover. iZombie, the complete series omnibus.
Oh, cool.
That's fun. So I don't think I realized that was DC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was on WB, so maybe it was Vertigo originally.
You're such an old man. The WB.
CW. God damn, I got caught.
It's not been WB since 2006.
Yes, I know, but in my head, it's always the WB. And then I always have to autocorrect to CW, and I got caught. Because I am an old man.
This isn't even like Supernatural. It started just before it changed name. iZombie didn't start for years after.
No, it was only on the CW.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries Volume 3 collection. The Felspire Chronicles Book 1 by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Riccardo Federici. That's an interesting name, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the Last God stuff. So.
I mean, I can't say that I don't like that creative team, because I do, but, you know. Speaking of those Golden Age Omnibuses, Wonder Woman, the Golden Age Omnibus Volume 5. So not as far as Batman, but still going along.
She's driving a Monopoly car.
She is. She's got like a little cart thing, yeah. It's something. What's that got here? It's got Wonder Woman 35 to 47 and Sensation Comics 90 to 104. And they're also releasing Wonder Woman the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 2, which has got Wonder Woman 124 to 149. So there's no Sensation Comics anymore. It's just so what's actually interesting about that is that they're doing the Silver Age before they've finished the Golden Age, and I'm sure they've done the same with Batman and Superman, but I've just not noticed. But which, don't get me wrong, I think the Silver Age is a lot more appealing. The Golden Age is a tough read. Like it's
a tough hang because of cultural differences.
Cultural differences. I also just don't think they're like the arts of its time, the ratings of its time. Like, forgetting even just problematic attitudes towards certain things, just the writing style's weird.
That was my more cultural change too, is that comics are written differently. You know, it was kind of Stan Lee, when you talk about the Silver Age, right? The Stan Lee method kind of upended that old style. Because I would love to go back and read some old Captain America, but I've always been afraid. So I'm going to read that Simon and Kirby stuff. But I'm just afraid it's going to feel like old-timey and not in a good way. So they still have a lot to go, because if it ends at 47 at the Golden Age, right? So
it depends how much Sensation Comics runs for, because if at any point that ends and it's just Wonder Woman, it'll go much quicker.
Yeah, because then it says here that it's 124 to 149 in the Silver Age for Volume 2. So you'd think that if the first Silver Age omnibus was roughly the same amount, they only got to have like one more of the Golden Age ready to go. So
very possibly.
That was me doing math.
You got me curious. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Look, Wonder
Go
Woman
check.
1 Silver Age Omnibus. Let's have a look here. What's that got now? That's 98 to 123.
So then, yeah. So maybe
So
depending on the sensations, well, they could have two. They could have two still of the Golden Age to go. If they're
I'd say
combining with
I
sensation,
would say it's at least 2, but it could be as many as 4 if Sensation's running the entire
right?
time. Maybe even
Dang.
5 at a push, but
God, so many comics before even what we recognize as canon.
I know, it's nuts. But hey, everything should be available, even if I never am going to read any of the Golden Age stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. All right, with all that out of the way, we can get started working through the books from this week. So we're going to start with Titans issue 1. Tom Taylor writing, Nicola Scott on the art. Obviously spinning out somewhat from Taylor's Nightwing book. Although it is worth mentioning, this issue does not in any way reference the story that they've had in Nightwing.
No.
It definitely reads completely as a contained issue 1 if you haven't been reading Nightwing, which is good. So that's that. So yeah, but a lot of this is setting up the status quo. It's the Titans moving into their new headquarters in Bloodhaven, and obviously the framing device is Wally having been shot and seemingly dying by the end of the episode, or the end of the issue. Which obviously it's a comic book. Don't worry, right? There's no way this is just Wally's death. In fact, I saw someone asked Taylor, like, "Did you have to kill off Wally?" And he's like, "Just come back after issue 2 and talk to me."
Who said he's dead?
I know.
Right? He's it's like in Princess Bride. He's half dead.
It's one of those things. So he knows he's dying at the start of the issue, so he goes and says goodbye to his family, and then goes to the treadmill to try and do something. But then we spend a lot of time just setting up the status quo. He really hits the Gar and Raven relationship this issue. Where she's sort of caring for him when he's having these nightmares. They're sleeping in the same bed together. That becomes a plot point later when they're like, "Hey, we gave you both rooms, but you might not need them." And they end up kissing in front of everyone, and everyone's like, "Raven's showing signs of affection. This is uncomfortable." What did we do?
Yeah. Well, and also I like the fact that he because of the trauma and everything that he's come through, he's sleep changing. So he had changed into a mouse while asleep, and him and Raven have to get through that. So I do like that it's continuing some of those threads for Gar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also it's setting up this idea that the Justice League isn't there right now, and the Titans are having to fill those shoes. So it's sort of it's just doing a job of setting that up and making it feel like they have to be the big deal now. There's a bit of action, of course. They get called to a nuclear power plant, which Titano is smashing up. So we get this big sequence where Gar turns into a kaiju to fight Titano.
Yeah, it's based off of a picture that Corey showed him of like the apex predator on Tamarin. So, which is a nice excuse for Gar to turn into a big monster, because we don't see that too often.
It's a fun big action set piece, because obviously the issue isn't going to do too many heavy plot action stuff, so this is kind of just like a standalone thing. But the big thing is that at the end of it, Peacemaker shows up and is like, these Titans are going to be a problem. He's talking to Amanda Waller, and he's like, they're not playing ball, they're refusing to be enlisted by the government, and they're all basically no, we serve the entire world, not one nation. And then multiple of them point out, I'm from another planet, I'm from another dimension. I'm
from an island. Yeah, I'm from an island country that's different than the U.S.
So they're not playing ball with that. So clearly Peacemaker and Waller are going to be getting in the way.
I do like the idea of Peacemaker being this, well, I wouldn't say villain. He's definitely a antagonist that's been working through, different DC books.
I feel
so.
Is it, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe he is chipped like the rest of the Suicide Squad, but it kind of feels like he's working for Waller by choice, or at the very least he believes in what she's doing. So he's he's not doing everything against his will constantly. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so, but I like that he's showing up as this force that's in their way without it having to be just a villain, and we can just see what makes him, Peacemaker, what makes him different than our heroes,
Yeah.
right? While still technically being on the same side.
And also notably, Tempest decides not to join the team, which he's not like part of the New Teen Titans lineup, right?
No, but he's not the New Teen Titans, but he's the original.
Yeah, I know that,
OGs.
but he's not part of this lineup, so he would actually feel kind of out of place with this group,
right? But I do like how Taylor handled that with in the things that we've seen from Taylor as he's gotten more comfortable as a writer, with Tempest telling him like, well, no, I serve like 71% of the planet. Like, you guys go back to your 29%. I have more work to do. So I did kind of like that. He was a little bit standoffish, and I'm sure if they ever need him, he'll answer the call. But he has more important things to do than hang out with his old, childhood friends.
Yeah. I think it was. I just wasn't expecting it. Like, I didn't even feel the need to address it because no one expected Tempest to be part of the group. So
the fact though that they're leaning so far on the ecological kind of stuff, like with Titano and the
potential meltdown.
The nuclear meltdown and all this other stuff. I'm sure Tempest, this is set up for.
Well,
something.
well, that's what I was about to say, is that the fact that he's even including him feels more like a story setup thing than it does anything. Because no one was asking like, why is Tempest not here. This is purely setting up potential story down the line that he's going to tackle. So that makes a decent amount of sense. And the story is well constructed enough because when they get back to Titan's Tower and they see some blood on the floor, we know whose it is, because we've already had it established to us that Wally's been hurt and that he's bleeding. So we get this kind of build because we know that he's in trouble, that he could be dead, that there's a risk that he might be dead, and they're following the blood trail. So it does a natural sort of build up a suspense of like, oh shit, like what are they going to find when they actually get to him? And sure enough, he's lying there on the ground and all the computer screens say solve it. So we get kind of like a, we have to solve the murder of Wally West thing at the end of the issue. Now, again, he's going to be alive by the end of the next issue. He's not dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it right now.
I'm not worried about Wally. I'm worried about his friends thinking that he's dead, though. Like, that this is going to hit Dick, right? So if the mission of whoever, because they said that they must have snuck up on Wally and shot him from point blank, right? Like,
well, it wasn't them. It was Wally that said that. Because Wally said that's how he get hit, because he would he would dodge it, he'd phase through it, but because he was shot point blank from behind, he didn't have the time.
Right. So that being a staple, I feel like this is whoever it is, it's meant to take the Titans off their game. So I have no guesses though, because it'd be kind of, I don't think Deathstroke. I think we're past that story.
For now, it does say Brother Blood next time at the bottom, so we'll see if he's got anything to do with it. But I think it's a really strong issue one because it sets up the status quo of the characters, and I think it's smart to feel like it's not just like, even though Dick's the leader, I think it would be maybe a little bit of a bad choice to like focus on him primarily for issue one, because he's already, we've already got a Nightwing book that Taylor's already writing. It'd feel kind of weird if this was just Nightwing and friends. But by focusing on the emotional core between Raven and Beast Boy, that says, okay, these two is part of an ensemble, and we're focusing on these two for the emotional side this issue, and we're focusing on Wally for the big plot mystery this issue. And yeah, we get a couple of nice moments of the others as well, don't get me wrong. Like, Cyborg goes in and stops the meltdown from happening. Whatever. But it makes it very clear in this first issue that this is an ensemble with all these characters, and that it's not just Nightwing's book with some friends also being there for action scenes.
Right. It feels very much like a team book.
Yeah.
And I haven't read like a team book like this in a while, because Justice League's been gone for a minute, so it feels nice that everything's balanced.
And Justice League was a bit, before it was gone, it was in a bit of a rough place.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster for sure. More valleys than peaks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so having this team book back, and it's kind of splitting between them, and it made for a good read too, because we had to see each of them do their own thing, and act like a team. So, but yeah, I mean, at this point, we're spoiled by Tom Taylor, and then we get art by Nicola Scott too, which all of the Titans look great. I really like her Raven, because Raven's not a character I'm particularly tied to. not like Nightwing and Starfire, but so to see this kind of take on her, where she's not as gothy, right? Like there's some of those vibes, but her red hair is really popping, under the hood. So I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, the Nicola Scott art is it's very bright and clean, like Nicola Scott's art always is. It's very expressive. Like no one draws a character smiling quite like Nicola Scott does. You could almost when you see Donna Troy smiling here, it's hard not to think of her Wonder Woman art.
Yeah.
When you see that, because it just makes you think of it instantly. So no, but the kaiju stuff was a lot of fun.
So good.
Yeah.
Again, anytime I get Titano in a book, I'm happy.
Well, no, but I specifically mean the art, though. I'm talking about the art here.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But and then get to see Nicola Scott drawing Titano on top of it. Like, come on.
Yeah, I know. I think all those big moments land, but I think the bigger thing is that all of the characters feel really pleasant to be around when Nicola Scott's drawing them. Like, that everything's very friendly. It feels like, and not to say that there's no, risk. Like I said, the tension does ramp up at the end when they're following the blood trail. But I think because it's so happy and good feelings up until that point, it feels like darker. Like, oh no, I don't want any of these nice characters to have to go through something traumatic. But then that evil man Tom Taylor is going to put them through something traumatic.
Yes.
I think that's, and I mean that in the best possible way. So,
right.
Yeah, no, it's a really good issue one. Sets up a team, sets up the status quo of like them moving into their new building that they're replacing the Justice League. Sets up some big story beats, and I think more than anything, I like that it takes the time to give the characters like their, giving this relationship a sort of blossoming here, and setting up that we're going to be doing the interpersonal stuff with them as well as everything else. I think it's a really good. It's just a promise from the first issue, which isn't surprising given that Taylor's been doing very well with that in Nightwing. But it's nice to see it here all the same. So,
yeah.
All right, what are you rating Titans?
Do I? I'll go with a solid 9.
I'll go 8.5. I don't know if I'm ready to quite hit it with the 9. But I think it's a really great first issue. So we'll see where that goes next time. Batman, The Brave and the Bold, issue 1. Notably though, we're only going to be looking at the Tom King and Mitch Gerads story. And do you know what the funny thing about this is that I should have been excited for this, but something about it being a story in an anthology book kind of made me not think about it, or like I knew I was going to read it, don't get me wrong, but something about that distinction made me not think about it in the same way that I do when I'm building up to like a Danger Street issue 1 or a Strange Adventures issue 1 or whatever it is. And when I opened it and I looked at the first page, I went, oh wait a minute, why have I not been thinking about this? Because this looks like it's going to be fantastic. And not to spoil anything, but it was fantastic. So
I have not felt this much tension through a comic in a very long time. Like, it's a sense of dread as the story keeps going.
Every time someone says, why are we still using the Joker? Because you read an issue like this, and this is why you still use the Joker.
But what I love here is that it's definitely less is more, right? Like, most of Joker's panels are black with white text on them.
Well, I mean, specifically, it's like an old silent movie. It's like the dialogue in an old silent movie when it comes up on the screen. That's what it's meant to look like.
Right. And so, like, I don't feel like we get overexposed of the Joker here. No,
he's a threat that the characters in the story don't understand yet, so no one knows to fear him.
And this is specifically set during year 1. They tell you that on the first page, right?
Just after, during year 1 in terms of the time frame, but I think if you're saying, if you're comparing,
not the story.
It's set after the story of year 1, but it's set during the first year of Batman, if that makes sense.
And so the Gotham PD is still getting used to the idea of these costumed, bad guys. And so just the idea of Joker, like, no one has really encountered him yet.
No.
And so there's this sense of, like I said earlier, there's a sense of dread, and there's this high tension throughout. And like, I was sitting here reading it and getting ready for the show, and I lost track of time. Like, I got very wrapped up in this one.
Oh, it's so easy to get sucked out of the story in this one.
Yep.
It's Obviously you have Gordon and some police going to this guy's house, and it doesn't reveal exactly why they're there at first, but as the scenes, as it comes back to those scenes and they talk about it, you realize, oh, this is this is basically this version, this story's version of Batman issue 1, where the Joker says, I'm going to kill this guy at midnight, and that was in the Dark Knight as well, to an extent. It wasn't midnight in the movie, but it was a similar idea. Right. And they're here to try and protect him. And they're like, hey, the last time this Joker called in and said something, it wasn't real. And they even referenced that he was going to poison the reservoir, but it didn't happen. So that's like a direct connection to the end of year 1. But like, yeah, we can't really believe this is true. But obviously, if you know any version of that, like original, this is the Joker's first appearance story, like you're like, this guy's going to die, probably by poison as soon as it hits midnight. And sure enough, that's eventually what happens. But the way it ramps up to that, where they're not really taking it seriously, they think this is a waste of time. It's all excellent. It's all good stuff. On you go.
I was gonna say, and it's Gordon and the police reacting because they're like, okay, we'll go check the diamond, and they're like, well, it's not even a diamond. You could scratch it with glass. It's a piece of glass. You scratch it with your finger, and then they look over, and the dude's on the ground.
Yeah,
and he's bleeding, and then he ends up with a smile, and just the way that Gordon reacts and goes, why is he smiling? That was, oh my God, that hit.
Well, yeah, but the thing you left out there is that it's supposed to be a real diamond. Like, part of the threat was that the diamond would be stolen. And then the reveal is that it's already been stolen and replaced with this fake one. And yeah, like that happens, and then the guy dies. And like you say, there's this like, why is he smiling moment with Gordon sort of like just crawling back in fear and being like, what the hell?
Right. And just knowing everything Joker puts Gordon through over the years, too, and this is his first taste of them. It's just like it was a holy cow moment for sure.
Yeah, and there's so much atmosphere in the art. Like it's like the entire book is like pouring rain. There's just rain constantly.
There's rain, and then when it shifts to the room, it goes because the rain's very like cold, right? It's using a lot of blues and greens and that type of stuff. And then when it shifts to the rooms, everything's warm. Like even where they're waiting with the diamond guy, and yeah, Gerads is really playing with the colors here.
Yeah, and when it jumps to what Batman's up to on this, Nick, because Batman's just chasing down a criminal who shot someone, his wife, by the sounds of it.
His wife during a domestic dispute, and just I always love too when King writes cussing, because like I try to figure out what words they're trying to say. King doesn't really care. He just kind of puts. Has the letterer put stuff through, but it's still effective nonetheless.
Yeah, the actual number of symbols doesn't matter. I just basically put in an F-bomb or the word shit, whatever sounds right in the context of the sentence. Basically.
But on this one, you just get the vibe where that's all this guy's doing. He's in a full panic.
He's running on the train tracks in this train yard, and he's shooting back to Batman. And Batman, they're treating Batman like this force of nature here, where he's just this silhouette coming after him. It's gorgeous stuff. And the guy falls and hurts his leg, and he's on the tracks, and this train's coming, and he's begging Batman to save him. And obviously, we know Batman's not going to let him die, but this guy doesn't know that. This is like Batman's he's new on the scene. Everyone thinks he's scary.
Well, he's yelling at him like, oh, you think you're big and scary? I'm from Gotham. You ain't nothing. And he's trying to big dog Batman. And Batman is still just taking his time, almost Michael Myers-esque as he's getting over to him as he's falling.
It's like he's introing the newer movie where he just walks out the shadows with the footsteps, like the tunk, 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 tunk.
Yeah. And this guy's laying on the railroad tracks because his knees twisted or his ankles twisted or whatever. And then you start to see the light from the train. And we get the the sound of the train whistle, like the woo woo, and man, again the tension, in the pacing. These two guys really know each other well.
And and
King Gerads.
One of my favorite moments of the whole issue is when we come back to this scene later, and the train actually goes, Batman either pushes him or the guy just gets free himself, but the train is coming between them. And you get those horizontal panels, and it's the trains going past, and you get the sound effect the entire time of the right, and you just see Batman between the cars as it's going past. Talk about pacing and atmosphere in a scene, and just this guy looking back and seeing Batman, and they'll say just waiting patiently to come and get him before he chases him again. It's so good stuff. And the guy's saying, "I deserve justice. I defended myself. My wife was going to kill me. I deserve justice." And then the full page spread of Batman just kicking him in the face and saying, "Yes, you do."
Yep.
Like,
Boot to the face. Boom.
it's so like it's wonderful stuff, and this is before we even get to the Joker subplot of the issue, which is so this dad's like frantically calling because his daughters went missing, and we then see this daughter just in the park with her umbrella in the rain. And this is what you were saying earlier, the silent movie captions of that's what the Joker's dialogue up until we see him is all just in these silent movie captions, and it comes back later as well. But that's like at first, because it takes you a second where she's talking to someone, and it's that classic like kid talking to a stranger. They don't know they're in danger, but they should know that they should be terrified.
And the fact that there's a balloon, I'm sure there's parallels to it, and I'm sure that's on with a clown and a balloon.
Yeah, I was going to say it. Joker's a way better character than Pennywise. That would be.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there's the little kid that doesn't, like you said, the little kid doesn't realize they're in danger, and they're just talking about everything to this stranger because they have a misplaced sense of trust. And it's when she's rambling all these questions to him, and he's giving the answers, but when she says, why is your skin white like that? And he starts talking about how he, fell into acid and, did it hurt and all this. And it's so creepy. It made my skin crawl reading his answers because I know he's talking to a kid.
Yeah, he's asking, do you want to hear a joke? And she's like, just saying, oh, is it about a dinosaur? I like dinosaur jokes.
Yep.
And whatever. Like, it's all very innocent, and the art's so good here. And her eyes are wide. She's excited to talk to this weird guy. But I think the effect that this silent movie style dialogue has, where it's these just black panels with, like the classic font of her talking back. I think what it does in effect is that it lets you know that in the way, like to get a little I don't know, artsy here in my analysis,
hoity-toity,
right? But I think it lets you know that Joker as a force is something that's coming into this world that feels like, we always talk about how Batman is theatrical, right? And he puts on this theatrical idea to have a presence, to like scare people, whatever. And this idea that film, when it entered into the world, was this new thing. It was this new like medium. It was this thing that people didn't quite understand at first, and it was this new spectacle. I think the idea of introducing the Joker here with these silent movie style captions, it's almost like he is something out of a movie that this kid would never expect to be a real danger because, he looks like a movie character, or the world's not ready for someone. Like, we think Batman's theatrical, Joker's out of a horror movie, and you're not prepared for like how much he's going to change this world.
It's a different kind of theatrical. Batman's almost like stage theatrical, and then Joker is like one-upping that to where it's not just the stage, it's film. And there's going to be some, broken expectations here. Because she even asked about him being a clown,
Yeah. Then you get that full page spread where you finally see him, after a couple of pages, and he's sitting on the bench in the rain holding the purple balloon, and she's just sitting there talking to him, and you're scared. And you get that full page silent movie screen where it just says, I also have a knife, but you can't have it yet. And you're like like in the same way that Riddler one shot was phenomenal and did so much to make the Riddler scary, this is doing it for Joker. But Joker arguably is the one that's supposed to be even scarier because he's this like unpredictable psychopath.
Right. With Riddler, what makes him scary is he's smarter than you and he knows it. Right. Like he's gonna trick you. Joker is just like, I hate saying it like that as a force of nature, but he's an equal force of nature as Batman is.
Absolutely.
So it's along the same lines. They both instill the same kind of fear, but for different reasons. With Joker's very much the unknown. Like when Batman's rushing at you, you're like, oh, I'm catching a beating. When Joker's rushing at you, he could literally do anything. So, the knife line made my skin crawl for real. Like, I'm going to have to hit them up on Twitter. Be like, thanks for the nightmare, you two.
Yeah. And there's even a little bit of that, Dark Knight style Joker where he's talking about his accident. He says he looks back on it and laugh. It was hard not to think about, now I see the bright side. Now I'm always smiling. Obviously they're both classic Joker examples, but and that's where you get the Tom King art. It was where you see Joker has drawn things
on his
and that's what we're seeing. But We didn't even mention there's the part of like Bruce Wayne's throwing a party at the manor, and he's out being Batman whilst this rich guy's wanting to talk to him.
Who I get has mob ties from the way that he's talking.
Yeah,
about Bruce and
everything he set up here about wanting to speak to Bruce, I all felt like plot set up that'll be relevant down the line. But what's so good about it is that it was basically just establishing this as the early days of Batman, where he's juggling the Bruce Wayne persona a little bit, and it's setting up plot stuff for later without feeling like it's just doing exposition, which well, and really nice.
So the guy has to talk to Bruce, and then Alfred covers for him. Is like, oh, he's had a reaction to the shrimp. He's away up in the restroom, and the guy's I'm thinking like quick talking type. He's like, oh no, he drank too much. He's a lightweight. He can't handle the Prince of Gotham and all this stuff. This guy doesn't know that Batman just chased down a dude and kicked the crap out of him at a train track. So, and then when Bruce does show up and just kind of disarms this guy with words about Alfred knows how to protect me.
It's also a very strong break in tension, because it goes from the guy dying at the garden scene to this party, and it's basically like a break in the tension, because you're seeing like, oh, here's all the hoity-toity in Gotham at Bruce's party in the manor, and how separate they feel. They don't care about the rest of this world that's going on, So,
well, it is. It's kind of that scene in The Dark Knight again, where right before the Joker shows up at the party with Rachel and Harvey, they're all just kind of there.
Yeah, it's almost like they're not. The reason why we're seeing this happy party is because they're not prepared for how their world's even going to change because of the Joker.
Right.
So I'm interested, and then obviously the big climax of the Joker stuff is he takes the girl home to her scared dad, who's been looking for her and phoning the police, and he's happy to see her, and she's like, oh, I'm just happy you're safe, and she's trying to say, no, this man found me, he calls himself Joker, and he brought me back to you, and the guy tries to shake his hand, and Joker just pulls out his knife and stabs him in front of his child. It's like so dark and vicious. And it does this thing where earlier on, when he was offering the balloon to the little girl, she talked about how she had a balloon before, but she let go of it and it went all the way up into the sky.
Her and her dad watched it, watched the sky eat it, basically.
Yeah, and it disappeared. Yeah. And he made her promise to not let go, and she promised that she won't let that happen again. She's learned, her lesson. She'll never let that happen again. But of course, seeing her dad be murdered and the blood dripping from the knife, she lets go of the balloon. So the end of the issue, and it is a beautiful final page, is the balloon just going up to the sky as we get just the silent movie panels sort of interspersed saying ha 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 ha, and as the balloon disappears in the final panel, the bat signal comes on in the sky. Like, oof. Perfection. So good. Absolute the storytelling, sometimes I read a comic like this and I'm like, why are so many comics just alright? Why isn't there more doing stuff like this?
I get it, and it reminded us of our conversation last week where I said, I'm okay. I like when a comic is just okay. It makes me excited to read it, like The Flash or whatever.
Yeah.
And because then it makes this feel that much better. Right?
Sure. They can't all be special. I know. But...
Right. I'm reading it and I am so tired of Joker. I'll be the first, Joker decrier. And I was one of those people when this was announced, I was like, oh, come on. But then, I trust Gerads when he talks, because I follow him on social media, and he's like, look, I get it. People are tired of Joker. I'm tired of Joker. But just read this before you guys have an opinion, please. I'm working something very scary. And he kept saying scary, right? And they did it because, Joker in this, because I took it that he stabbed the little girl, and that's why she let go of the balloon, too. But maybe I just think that Joker's that much more of a monster than the art suggested, right?
But I'm looking at it now. I never thought he stabbed her. I still if it reveals next issue that he did, I wouldn't say it feels out of place, but I didn't get that impression from that page that he did stab her.
Right.
If anything, I think the Joker is more evil than that, and that he's laughing that this girl is watching her dead dad, kind of thing.
Right.
But, it wouldn't surprise me if he did stab her either.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So the art, to me, I interpret of it, he also killed the little girl because he's that much a monster. But it's, it could just be revealed that no, now she doesn't have a dad, and that's the joke.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
also that final page, the silent movie panels. There's four, 'cause it's a 9 panel grid, right? And it's the up, down, left, and right that are the silent movie panels. They start to deteriorate as if the film's breaking down. So the last one's really distorted and like as if it's like burning out, and that's almost like, oh, he's not just a movie character anymore. Now he's in the real world. Like
he's jumped,
him stabbing that dad is him coming into the real world, which is a fascinating little bit of subtext. It's honestly this was wonderful. Like I think, part of me always likes the idea that you have like this great sort of lineage of like good Batman stories that you can give to someone. Say, okay, you start with year one, and typically after that you can read Batman the Monster Men and Batman versus the Mad Monk, right, which are set soon after year one. And then I'd say go to Long Halloween. Like, it thrills me with the idea that I can say to someone, oh, here's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Batman Who Laughs, or Batman the Man Who Laughs, which is the Ed Brubaker version of the first Joker story, was pretty good. This might supersede it by the time it's done if it keeps up this quality, where I'll say, no, this is what you read after year one. This is how Joker enters the picture.
Right.
And by my sort of headcanon now.
Yeah, that's why always the thing that resonated me with from Batman Begins with Joker and Batman was at the end where the Joker card's revealed, and then Gordon gives him that speech on escalation, and here's now that escalation in comic book form, right? Batman shows up, and now Joker has showed up, and
that's maybe the tricky thing about doing the story of like the first time the Joker really like does stuff in Gotham is that you are competing with, like, Ed Brubaker did a version, you're competing with the Golden Age stuff, obviously. You're competing with stuff like The Dark Knight, because especially since Batman Begins is very much the year one of that movie franchise, so that means that Dark Knight is effectively what this is kind of, also doing its own version of. But, of course, it's a comic book, it's more focused, it doesn't have to set up, all the Two-Face stuff, it doesn't have to do all these other things. And Batman's presence in this is so atmospheric and brooding, but by the time you get to the end of the story, Joker's way scarier in a very different way. And that signal coming out at the end with the balloon going out of the sky is just chef's kiss. Just
Yep. And the film, I didn't even realize that when I read it, the film deterioration, right? Because I got so not distracted, but I focused so much on the bat signal with the balloon that. So again, those are both ways to end this story, with a bang. And
they are. We talked about the rain and the colors and how it separates each scene with different color tones. But then even just in the faces, obviously they're very expressive. The smiling of the little girl, the evil looks on Joker, the silhouette stuff with Batman, but the faces as well. Like even like the smarmy rich guy that's looking for Bruce at the party, he's got such a good sneer. And there's one panel where he's kind of like. He's doing like he's got his tongue like in front of his upper teeth, and you sort of get just the tone of what he's saying from the art. It's so good, and even Alfred like raising an eyebrow in one panel to be like be smarmy Alfred, but without even uttering a single line of dialogue. It's
like
the art is absolutely gorgeous, and it tells the story so effectively. Like this, like this is worth the $8 just to read this story. And then read the rest if you want. Like whatever, but it's worth it for this story.
I mean, I want to go and read the Superman story, right? But
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't. Like, by all means, like go for it.
But like after this, it's kind of like, okay, well, the gauntlet's been thrown. How do you follow this?
I'm curious though, because if this is only 3 parts, then it's probably going to be a similar length to that Riddler one shot, because that Riddler one shot was about 60-70 pages. Yeah. So this will be effectively just maybe a few, like maybe 10 or 20 pages longer by the time it's done. So, interesting. So,
did we get a title for this story?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's a title in the opening table of contents. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't notice it.
I'm cycling back. I should have probably.
Me too.
I should have probably just
race.
Went the quick way, but whatever.
The winning card.
There you go, the winning card.
Oof, that's a great title. So.
Yeah, I can't praise it. Honestly, I can't praise it enough. Yeah. It's whatever. For some reason, writers named Tom do very well on our our reviews.
Well, and I think that DC kind of lets them do what they want at this point, right? Like, you know, no one needed another Joker story, but when Tom King goes, hey, me and Gerads want to do a Joker story, you know, I think they're just like, okay, there's enough trust in him. And same with Tom Taylor probably wanting to do Titans. Like, I'm sure they want to do a Titans book, right? DC wants to be publishing one of those. But when Tom Taylor comes to you with, like, I want to spend it out of Nightwing, I feel like they have enough goodwill built up at the company that you just trust them to let them do what they need to. So,
yeah, no, this is phenomenal. Exceptional art, exceptional build to the Joker as a character.
yep.
Exceptional pacing, and serialized storytelling. I really can't praise it enough. So, Matt, what are you giving? Not the whole book, obviously, because we're not
Right.
look at the rest, but just, you know, this Brave and the Bold story, part 1. What are you giving it?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a 10.
I am also going to give it a 10.
Yeah. I can't find fault with anything in the story. I really can't.
It's basically perfect. So, all right. Superman, issue 4, Joshua Williamson, writing with Jamal Campbell and Nick Dragotta on the art. Yes, Matt, I see you smiling over there. What are you smiling at?
Just because it went from so high to so middling. Because like I want to like this book more, but I feel like this is a half a chapter. I feel like stuff happens in this one, but the stuff that I'm really invested in, you know, happens. It's kind of bookended with Silver Banshee.
Well,
so
my problem isn't that at all. My problem with the first 3 issues is that it felt like it should have been a 6-issue story that was squeezed into 3, and nothing felt like it had the weight it should have. Because I like the setup of the city full of parasites. Like, I thought that was a fun, creepy story. But then they just wrapped it up super quick, and I felt like we got nothing out of it. I do like Silver Banshee. I like the start and the end with setting her up. And I was like, okay, this is all right so far. I also like that Dr. Farm's henchmen have these like pill heads, which reminded me of like Grant Morrison Doom Patrol. Basically, it was giving me that kind of vibe. I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this. Where this book lost me, the concept where this book lost me, is young Lex Luthor being a vigilante with a red or a green and purple outfit on, and I'm just like, I hate this. What are you doing, Williamson?
Now, so we can infer, like, because even Superman's like, he doesn't fully believe Luthor in this. But then when he finds the lair after Lex tells him the origin story, I kind of took this too as this is a narcissist telling you how things went down. So you can only believe a little bit of it. Do you think that's what it's going to be? Or do we think Williamson fully just had Lex become a green and purple vigilante, taking out Dr. Farm and Mr. whatever?
I think the fact that I'm not surprised if this is just literally what's supposed to have happened tells you all you need to know about how I feel about Williamson's writing right now. Right? I think that's because I liked some of the stuff at the start. I liked the setting up of Silver Banshee, right? And obviously the ultimate reveal that she's dating Jimmy. That's kind of funny. Right?
I like that. Yeah.
Right, that's cool. I actually really like the scene with Lex in the prison where the guy's like making fun of Superman and saying Batman's better, and how Lex takes that personally that he triggers a nut allergy. I thought that was really fun because like you could read it as he's sticking up for his guy, but I kind of like read it a bit more than that and said, no, Superman's beat Lex multiple times, and this guy's saying Superman's like a dweeb and like not a big a deal. Like I took this more as Lex being like, no, he's beating me. How dare you insult him? He's proved he's capable. Damn it!
it's the narcissism again. It's Lex going like, well, if he thinks Superman's a loser, what does that make me?
So I liked all that stuff, but once Lex starts telling his story about how he first came to Metropolis and he sees these, you know, homeless people being like kidnapped and taken or coerced by this Dr. Farm, and he shows up with this green and purple outfit with a big L, which is funny on its own. He's got a massive L, which, you know, Lex, I get that it's your name, but it also usually means loser. If someone's got an L, it means loser, okay? He's got these like goggles on, like he's an anime character. I just I hate it.
I don't mind in certain circumstances. This though, him just coming to and getting adjusted to Metropolis and seeing all this and jumping in, and these are the villains from the past. It's not even people like that he met as Lex, like the Lex Luthor we know, the business guy. It's this is Lex Year One stuff.
Do you know what this is? This is the same sort of shit I don't like with characters like Ghostmaker, except Lex himself now has this weird vigilante past before he became Lex Luthor that we know. I just don't like that. I don't like squeezing that in. It feels wrong. It feels like it goes against everything what I think about Lex Luthor.
When he says, "This is my city, I was a hero," I always take that as he has this inflated self-worth of like he was going to be the person to save Metropolis through LexCorp or Luthor or whatever LexCorp, right? And then Superman shows up and actually starts saving people through heroism and stuff, and he doesn't like that. Takes the spotlight away. Him actually saving people, being an actual hero, undercuts that mentality.
Yeah,
completely.
Like Lex should never even think about having him having the purple and green armor that comes later. Yeah. Kind of in the same way that a lot of Batman villains only exist because Batman raised the stakes to that sort of level. Right. I don't want Lex to ever want to do anything like that until it's because Superman already exists and he wants to say, "Oh, I can have an outfit, I can have a color scheme.
Mine's even better."
Yeah. He should never have anything like that before Superman. That's just how I feel on the matter.
That said, I do like that the Dr. Farm's henchmen are called farmhands with the PH, because that does crack me up.
Sure.
So yeah, but yeah, him going through. So until I get evidence to the contrary, I'm gonna take this as Lex telling an inflated story of what he did.
The problem is though is that whatever version of this is actually real and what what actually happened. I'm not sure how much less worse it is. I don't
know. If you can have Dr. Farm go, "No, he didn't bust us up. He let us continue." Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Lex chose to do nothing.
I expect that, but did he still have the outfit? Did he still have these weird L bombs that he throws at people?
Yeah. God, I hope not. That's cheesy and not a good way.
I really did not enjoy that. Superman goes to a lab underground in the underground part of the city, and he basically it's a trap. How this was a trap, I don't know. How you'd go there, I'm unclear on.
Well, yeah, that's the whole other thing too, is because if it's Superman has to get through a whole lot of rubble to get there.
Yes.
So how I know there's multiple entrances into things, but so was Silver Banshee just waiting there the whole time? Hopefully Superman shows up.
And much like before, this is a character, Silver Banshee. They point out that she's been relatively redeemed. She's out on parole, and obviously the fact that she's dating Jimmy says, "Hey," and we see her with the Pop-Tarts at the start. She's trying to live a normal life. She seems to be doing all right, but these villains are forcing her into this with whatever. I
do like too how she goes to change into Silver Banshee, and Dr. Farm with his kryptonite hand. And it's kind of I thought that was a cool scene. That
he does the Nedry, yes.
yeah, and he's able to through kryptonite radiation, he's able to bend her into whatever version this is. Which is also pretty cool too, considering she's not just screaming, she's sending these wraiths at Superman, these white, which is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I've always liked Silver Banshee.
Me too.
As far as a look goes, I like her or vibe.
I liked her in those. I forget what series it was, but she was a supporting character in Supergirl.
It was the Peter David 90s run.
Okay. Well, no, I'm talking something a little bit even more recent, where Kara comes to Metropolis, and her roommate is this lady Siobhan, who eventually
that's New 52 then.
Is that New 52?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I liked her in that as Kara's roommate that the family curse gets unlocked of the Silver Banshee, but she's able to try to overcome it and whatever. So here, her showing up and dating Jimmy, which at the beginning I had to go back and is she saying what I think she's saying? Because she's clearly addressing him about his pictures being on the front page or whatever. There's these little hints at the beginning.
Yeah, there's some teases that you don't really get until the end.
Right.
That's who it was setting up. Right. So Superman's up fighting Banshee out into the street, which is, we cut to Lois and Jimmy talking, and again, they sort of teased that he's got a girlfriend in the scene because Lois mentions it. She asks him about Marl and Moonlight because she's looking into that, and he's like, "Yeah, I've heard of Marl and Moonlight. It's a legend." And starts he's about to start talking about it, and then that's when the fight spills out onto the street and interrupts him.
Like, I understand pacing and stuff, but that kind of irritated me. Of the, oh yeah, Marilyn Moonlight, yeah, that's an old family life. It's like the thing you're talking about with Ghostmaker, you know, like back in Metropolis's Old West days, I was like, wait, Metropolis is on the Eastern Seaboard. It's not like, just as a history nerd, it's something that I got hung up on. But I just didn't like the presentation of him trying to explain it and then getting cut off, you know.
Well,
but yeah,
the big final page is Jimmy swooping in to like protect Silver Banshee and saying he loves her. As Lois and Superman look shocked, and to be fair, the art here with their shocked faces is quite good.
Yeah. I love the hearts because even the stuff around her, like the little wispy stuff, makes a heart with Jimmy. So
yeah, this is going to sound like a weird thing to compliment, but I think all the clothes look really good in this book. Like, I think Lois's outfit, where she's got this kind of she's got this sort of, I don't even know what sort of pants you call them, but she's got like a look, and then Jimmy comes in and his bow tie and jacket looks good. Like, everyone's clothes look good and they flow really well.
The Campbell art definitely supersedes the Dragotta art in this book.
Yeah.
So
it's just a simple little thing, but I just thought everyone looked good in it. So the art's good. Like, I can't fault the art. Williamson just conceptually just keeps letting me down, and it's so far, and maybe it's just a taste thing, but I'm not seeing universal praise for this either. No. So it's not like everyone else is raving about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fine book. Like, I don't, but this is one that I was like, oh yeah, I used to have Superman to read, so it wasn't one of the ones that I raced to read first.
And it's only issue 4, so that's not.
Yeah, no, but I'm the big Williamson fan here, right? So and I'm the Superman fan, so this should be 2 boxes are checked. But just kind of the story, Dr. Farm and all this other stuff, I'm like, it's fine. We'll see where it goes. I'm definitely invested in Silver Banshee.
Are we not at past tense with that Williamson fandom yet?
No, because I still have 2 issues of Darkrai to get into, because the first 4 were really, really fun. So, and maybe just the superhero stuff. Maybe sometimes he needs to take a break and reset.
Okay.
That said, Nailbiter didn't quite stick the landing. Yeah.
The Dark Crisis. Right?
It started to feel like maybe a Williamson thing. Maybe he doesn't want to end stuff.
Started to be a trend.
So,
yeah. So real mixed bag. There's scenes I liked. I like Lex being mad at the prisoner for making fun of Superman. I like Silver Banshee. I think the Jimmy Silver Banshee's an interesting little twist. I like the pillheads, or the farmhands as they're being called. But this backstory with Lex, it just instantly made me go, what is this shit? I don't like it.
Yeah. I wanted to be no, I want Superman one time just to call out Lex one time. It's no way that happened like that. We have time machines. Let's go back. Show me.
Yeah. So real mixed bag, unfortunately. Matt, what are you giving Superman issue 4?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5, and that's mostly from the art.
What am I giving it? I think I will give it a 6.5, which is to say there's still enough in it that I like, but the thing that I didn't like, I really didn't like. So I'll go 6.5. I'll say it's still verging on good this. I think I was more mad at last issue, because last issue felt like it just shat away the entire story arc that it was doing.
Yeah.
This is just a conceptual thing I just don't like. So yeah, but I'll go with that. All right. The Flash, 799, Jeremy Adams writing with Tom Derenick and Fernando Passarin on the art. Flash, Wally still doing his Starship Captain bit. They're on their way to Granny Goodness to get the baby back. I had fun with this issue, but I will say it felt like the last issue was setting up something that felt like it was going to be bigger, and it felt like a quick... And I know
it feels truncated for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like this had another 2 issues left.
I thought that this was going to be part 2, and then there'd be an oversized conclusion in issue 800 along with the other stories. Instead, it wraps up here, and now there'll be an epilogue or a final one-shot thing in issue 800 for this run, which is fine, except that I just, the joke that the Terrifics are fighting the big massive stuff with Gold Beetle and the wrestler dude. Like,
Omega Bam Man.
there you go. Like that's amusing, but it does kind of feel light and fluffy, you know.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like Adams had more for this story, and then it felt like they shifted creative on him, and so he had to kind of wrap up as quick as he could, you know, and it still feels fulfilling in parts. I really like when we get to the Granny Goodness stuff, and I really like them, you know, the creatures that are fighting at time point and whatever, and how we never see, you know, Omega Batman take him out with Gold Beetle. So it's just all this off camera stuff.
Yeah, so the big thing here is that one of the kids that are fighting for Granny Goodness turns out to be Mr. Terrific's son, who was taken out of his wife's body effectively before she died, which is a really interesting and dark little reveal. So we'll see what they do with that. I mean, honestly, what was weird for me about this is that after all the fighting is done and they're on their way back home and it's going to take a while, it was funny to me how it kind of like overlaps the concept of Superman Lost, where Wally gets back and he's got a beard, because for them, they don't actually say how long it's been.
No.
But you would presume with a beard like that, it's been at least a year, maybe 2. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how thick that West hair comes in, so, but it's definitely been close to a year, if not more.
Which, I mean, it's not been that long. It's not been 20 years because the baby's still relatively a baby. You know, it's not like Wade's suddenly a toddler or anything like that. But it's definitely been about a year because he's got a full beard and his hair's grown out at the top of the mask. He's got the when he first came back after Rebirth Flash suit that he had. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the action is just kind of a bit light and fluffy. It's not like a super deep issue by any means. It just kind of. He gets back with the kid at the end. Linda's happy to see him. But for Linda, it's only been a day. But for Wally, it's been however long it's taken to get back. So, we'll see what they do there. The art's also a bit inconsistent because we've got multiple artists here, as mentioned. And I felt it a bit more in this one. I think Wally, for example, in that last page looks really skinny because the art style is just very different. And Linda's face is very, very, very flat when she's hugging the baby at the end. So I'm assuming that's I don't even know if that's Derenick or Passarin. Probably Derenick, because
Derenick. Yeah, because Passarin's usually we can look at Passarin and know. So if you're guessing, it's probably the other guy. Then
I usually don't have a problem with Passarin's art. So by logical assumption, then it's probably Derenick.
Yeah.
But but also not like an amazing issue. Right? It's probably one of the weaker issues of the run, to be honest. Yeah.
For sure. I'll agree with all those points.
Yeah. Which is a shame because like the setup last issue was quite good, and I liked that it was including all these characters that we'd been introduced along the run. It almost just feels like the actual adventure had to be cut short because the run was told it was ending. So actually, see, when you go back and look at the art, like there's a lot more detail in some of the earlier stuff, and then everything looks really flat towards the end. So the art change really does hit this one, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to add before we?
No, we pretty much line up. I was not that I was disappointed, but yeah, I thought, like you said, I thought there'd be at least some wrap up in 800, and that's where Adams would get to, you know, do his goodbye type stuff. So,
well, no,
who knows? Who knows what that story is?
Well, no, we're still getting that, I assume.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, through here, I figured he's the type of writer that would wrap his stuff up, you know, through the story. He wouldn't just have like an issue style wrap up. If that makes sense, you know, like the part 3 would be the final wrap up.
Yeah. That's what we said at the start. Yeah, that's what I expected. I was not expecting this to wrap up with issue 799, but that's what they've chosen to do. And maybe it's because he's got a really cool epilogue idea that he wants to do, which is fine. But it does feel like this arc was supposed to be like 6 issues and got cut down to 2.
I still feel there's meat on the bone with Gold Beetle and Jay. I still feel like
maybe
Adams can come back to that at another time.
I hope so, because it's been a fun little tease every time it's come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does feel like he wrote the last issue when he thought he was going to get a whole arc, and then he was told before this one, "Oh no, you're only getting like these 2 issues left," and he's like, "Shit." Because it feels like everything just wraps up so easily in this. Like, it doesn't feel like a big fight with Granny Goodness. It feels like they get to her really quickly. Like everything feels really quick and truncated. So I suspect that's just a logistical and like time problem than anything else. But anyway, what you giving Flash 799?
I'm gonna give this a 7.
I'm also going to 6 with this one, honestly. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It also might get a little bit of interference. Watch your cables.
Gotcha. Let me fix them.
Yeah. It's not been too bad yet, but it got worse like last week or the week before, whenever it was. So.
Yep.
All right. Batman Superman World's Finest issue 15. Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. So we introduced Ultramorpho, whatever he's called.
Yep.
At the end of last issue. And he fights Superman. Superman's really struggling. Robin's trying to like carry Superman away and be like, really get your strength back up. It's a whole thing until, of course, Batman shows up with a suit made out of the Metal Men. He looks like a Megazord, where like one leg's red, one's blue.
This is I don't want to say this is stupid and I love it, because I usually reserve that for the Fast movies, but this is silly and I love it. You know.
Well, it makes enough sense, and then it kind of like pays off later, where Superman like Metamorpho makes like a suit of himself for Superman. That's
what I was gonna get through to. There is like, oh, there's all this kryptonite radiation and kryptonite there. How can Superman get through it? And Metamorpho turns himself into a suit
of lead, of course. Yes.
Well, of course, there's lead there, but like, yeah, looks like a spacesuit for Superman, and just it makes me definitely feel like you have to have a really good relationship with Metamorpho if you're on a team with him, because at some point he's going to surround you as armor or something.
That does take trust. That's a very good point. I never really thought about that, but yeah, it's a very good point.
Right.
So we also see that people are getting controlled by Mechanique, and that's where the Doom Patrol are in Washington. So that stuff's set up. There's a surprising amount going on in this, honestly, but the Dan Mora art with all the fighting's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the rise of the robots, right? So a lot of these robotic villains and characters are starting to wreak havoc, and like we see the Challengers of the Unknown, which I can't tell you the last time I even thought of that property. So the fact that Waid's pulling
what was it called?
Yeah, I know.
New wave of DC heroes.
Yeah, it was not for me. But yeah, so we see the Challengers, they're having issues with one, and there's all sorts of fun robots. But we see Red Tornado too at the beginning. He's making some saves, and then programming stuff happens, and he takes off.
But it seems like they're not actually in control. It's actually New Morpho. No, sorry, not New Morpho. New Mazo. That's the name. Mazo, who is controlling the original Amazo as well as all the scientists. He's got like, so by the end of the issue, like Batman and Superman have been kidnapped. Metamorpho wants to go fight them, and Robin's like, no, we're not going to win, because Robin is actually like a really great like Robin's like leg gets covered in acid at one point, and his leg looks messed up. It was actually quite a dark little,
and he can't walk, right? Like it's all gross.
Yeah, one of the metal men like gives him like a metal cast effectively to help him. But like, we need to plan, and he wants to call in the Teen Titans, but they're busy. He wants to call in Supergirl, but she's busy. In fact, the issue ends with the sort of a cliffhanger with Supergirl like losing touch with him. Is seemingly the Batmobile is being taken over by, again, whatever's controlling all these robotic enemies, and is going to ram into a wall. I suspect that wall's going to open at the start of next issue, but that's my guess. That's my guess anyway, but we'll see. So that's all good stuff, but Batman and Superman are held captive. They've got collars around their neck, which Superman's in particular is like dampening his powers. So I will say this, like this book, because there's so much going on and it's so wacky, like I always forget what it was about until I start reading the next issue, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's all this stuff. Oh yeah, Metamorpho and Stag was dead, but he's not dead because he was a robot instead.
Well, then we find out that those were like the Ivo, his first attempt at Amazo was these duplicates, but that wasn't big enough, so he created Mazo, and now it seems like new Mazo is the logical conclusion. So it seems like new Mazo can control robots instead of take the instead of copy the powers of the Justice League.
It's also zany in like a Silver Age way, and I feel like comics sometimes try to be too silly, and it's the problem that I have with Williamson's writing sometimes, where they just put in too many ideas. But Mark Waid's very good at just kind of juggling them in this way that feels like he's just having fun, and he's riffing, and he's just throwing in weird shit. And I think part of it's because he never tries to pretend that the story's more important than it is. Never.
Well, there's that, and he treats it with the right level of that, to where he's like, it just gets to the edge of being too silly, and then he pulls it back, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's that. I think it's the fact that he never tries to pretend that it's like the most important story ever.
Mhm.
But I think on top of those two things, it's also the fact that the actual character dynamics are still there. You know, when Robin's calling Supergirl for help, who was in the run, you know, in the previous arc, and he's like basically begging for help because Batman and Superman are held captive, and she then gets worried because something might be wrong with them. Like, it's like, you know what? The actual emotional connection to the characters and their jeopardy is still hitting, even though the story isn't trying to pretend that, oh, it's the end of the world again. And, you know, it's like, because comics do that all the time. It's always every story is the biggest story, you know? Like, I always applaud when a story just does like this is a smaller personal thing. We're not doing, like, this crisis is bigger than the last crisis, you know? None of that bollocks. So, there's just the way he juggles all those expectations, so I never feel like the book's aiming for something higher than it is, but it's also feeling like it's over delivering and how much I care about the characters, is just really good. It's just really good writing that Waid's right, and then then the Dan Mora art, and you have like a really attractive book as well. So
yeah, well, and all of the robots too look distinct. So they have that vibe of, you know, all the metal men look like the metal men, but they have little Mora touches on them, and same with like Amazo and New Mazo. And it's just fun for me as like a DC Comics history guy, seeing all these other characters pop up. You know, just because I know Mark Waid has an encyclopedic knowledge of the DC universe, so to see like Ultivac, I'm sure was had something to do with Challenge of the Unknown.
Probably,
but,
yeah.
You know, but just to see that pop up and you know, Chemo popping up, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah,
like
Chemo's who Supergirl's fighting. Yeah,
that's right. Yep.
So no, it's all just super fun, and the way he juggles it, like Mark Waid is great at writing superhero comfort food in a way that I don't think, because I think sometimes like you throw that around for books that are just okay. I think Mark Waid is exceptional at writing that, but it's really good and well crafted, and I think that's something that should be applauded. When I do, like, you know, come out of a lot of books going, oh, I was a 6, it was a 7, it was a 6, it was a 7. I think Mark Waid is really good at it, where I came out of it feeling like I had a great time, and it was achieving exactly what it was setting out to do. So, what are you rating World's Finest Man?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
Yeah, I think this is a kind of 8. Yeah, 8. Yeah, well, maybe 8 point, but I'll say 8. It's just a great, solid superhero comic that's pulpy in all the right ways and zany in all the right ways. So, very good. Batgirls issue 18. We have Becky, Cloonan, and Michael Conrad writing with Robbi Rodriguez on the art. Last issue set up this story with the sniper, and they had that big graveyard scene and all that stuff. This issue, the Batgirl's investigating, and they're talking to Officer, is it Brooks, or what his name is? And he shows them the note that the police department got that says the Batgirls have to like be arrested and brought in, or I'm going to kill more people, kind of thing. And they're like, okay, we're looking into it, and they all leave the scene. There's a great few panels here, actually, of them all, like all three of the Batgirls are in the panel together, and they all sort of grapple out together. It's just a really nice little beat.
Yes.
But Montoya gives them shit for talking to the Batgirls, and that this is going to cause more trouble. And she gives them shit duty to go and guard the crime scene, the sniper's nest. But basically, Batgirl or Oracle reaches out to Batman, and the younger Batgirls go and see Batman, and it's a nice little scene where he says he's proud of them, and they're getting guidance from it. And basically, the advice he gives them is that, okay, you can't be seen doing anything as Batgirls because this killer will kill more people. So you're just going to have to go full ninja. You're going to have to not be seen when you're saving people. And it actually leads to this really great fun sequence where it's like a bank robbery, and Alyssa's there, and she calls for help, and you just like, it's this great sequence of like these two gunmen looking around, and they've got the ski masks on, and they're getting scared, and it's like a classic Batman scene, but just with a little bit more of a fun vibe where like they're getting cowardly scared, and the only thing you ever see of the Batgirls in the scene is like one silhouette of Cass sort of whooshing past at one point.
And it's almost like the only reason we get a shadow is because of the gun flash.
Yeah.
Right? It's really, really well handled.
Honestly, like, I mean, I think obviously the Brave and the Bold story's taken it, but until I read that, this scene was my moment of the week. This was the thing that stuck out to me the most. So yeah, also Babs puts on a wig and goes to talk to Officer Brooks.
Yep. I hope that she has a name like Matches Malone. Right? Like, I hope this is a character we see of her more. So
I don't know what the lady version of Matches Malone would be.
I don't know either. That's why I said like Matches Malone and didn't give my own. But yeah. So but yeah, no, definitely that bank height or the bank rob scene, you know, and then Alyssa ends up hitting one of the guys with the stanchion. So you know, definitely the Batgirls were there to help.
Is that what you call one of those things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a stanchion.
I never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just said the barrier pole thing.
It's where the ropes go in between when they're trying to keep you out of something. Yeah, no, stanchion. If it's in between a door, it's called a mullion. These are things I know from my work.
I feel like rope's old school. I feel like most of them now, they have like almost like a seatbelt style thing.
It is.
Where it comes out, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
This has been the Stanchion podcast, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
This is Matt Stanchion Minute.
You know, but there's a nice scene with Cass and Steph like bonding and saying that they learn from each other, because Steph's like, I'm not good at doing the ninja thing, like I'm not stealthy. And Cass like, no, like you did fine. She's like, I've learned from you, and she's like, I've learned from you what to talk too much. You know, so there's a fun little beat between them. But then on the news, it turns out, and this seems to be something that Babs might have set up with like two girls have been arrested in Batgirl outfits. So Steph and Cass are watching like, wait a minute, they look just like us. Why what's happening? So it's an interesting little plot beat. Like, I'm really digging this. I think this is the best arc the book's had, and I've really enjoyed the last few arcs of this. So a good one to go out on, I suppose, at least. But we have the podcaster who's upset because our cameraman was one of the guys that was shot last issue by the sniper, and she basically does like a podcast in support of the Batgirls, and we see it sort of like we read the bubbles as we see, you know, Oracle with Alyssa, we see Cass buying some more books, Steph's with that new guy that might be a new boyfriend, and it feels like it's building up to the podcaster doing something drastic, because she's bought that gun last issue, we see her loading it, but instead she basically rallies like a parade for, or a march.
It's a protest.
For the Batgirls, basically saying free the Batgirls, like we're all Batgirls, and she's literally wearing a t-shirt with a target on it as if to like call out the sniper. So she's, you know, maybe a little off the deep end, but has seemingly good intentions, although she still has that shotgun though, which
Yeah, and I like that scene where it's going through all the characters, and she's doing stuff like in her podcast voice, I would take it, of basically what the Batgirls mean to the Hill.
Yeah.
Is over the course of the run. And then you even get one of those guys that they'd stop from selling guns, right? He's one of the biker dudes. As he's looking there, as she's loading the gun. That's where I thought, I was like, oh no. Right? And then we get that also her in silhouette against a window. It feels like it's a different artist. With the blues and the red, or the blues and the orange.
Oh, I don't think that's her. That's the sniper, though.
Oh, shoot! I guess right. You're right.
That's a sniper because she has like a sawed-off shotgun.
It is.
Yeah,
I was reading too fast, but then it juxtaposes with them loading the sniper loading. Well, the sniper's definitely a female, judging from the shape, because I thought it was Grace. So.
Matt's saying he thought the silhouette was sexy, is what Matt's saying.
Maybe, you know, I gotta come to terms with that on my own. It's no Poison Ivy, but come on.
No, it's a gorgeous page though. It has like the blues and the yellows.
But the art just changes so much. That's why I thought it was her in silhouette. Like he was driving home the point that the artist and the writers were driving on the point that she's about to do something different, right? And then when you see that she's leading a protest wearing a target on her, it's completely different than her holding the gun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's almost like it's building up to her maybe doing something bad, but then it seems like, oh, this is much healthier, this is much better.
Right.
So yeah, because that page with the sniper ends with her saying, to that piece of trash that hurt, Rocky, which is how I think you say his name because there's no C.
Yeah. Right.
It's R-O-K-Y. I'm assuming that's Rocky and not Rocky, but but it says, to the person who hurt my cameraman, we're coming for you, kind of thing. So. Yeah, honestly, it's a really good follow up to. I think last issue I liked a bit more because the tension of all the sniper scenes was so good. But I think this issue, building up this idea that the local area have all come to love the Batgirls and are willing to step up for them, is kind of sweet and a nice little sort of. If it does, even though it's been cut short to only 20 issues by the time it's done, I do think this feels like a nice end of run arc to do, because it's saying, hey, they've made a difference to all these people, they're coming out and supporting them. That's kind of nice. So I like that a lot, and them working with Officer Bruce, it feels like all the pieces that have been put into play are all being used in this final arc, which is nice. Honestly, this book's had such a good turnaround. That first arc was so messy and overstuffed, but everything after has been such a constant improvement. It's been great.
I really enjoyed this arc too, because it's showing that the Batgirls have made a difference in the neighborhood since they moved there.
Yeah.
Right? So it didn't just feel like something in the meta sense of, oh, just give the Batgirls a book. It's like, well, no. Now they have another piece, like how when, Babs went to Burnside and it felt like she made a difference there.
It was like what we were saying last issue. I think we talked about how they all went into the bookstore's place for shelter when the sniper was hitting. And it was like, oh, we've set this character up. It's not just a random place.
Right.
So just these little side characters that just make this, the supporting cast feel alive and feel like it's a real place. It's something that I love in a good comic book run, and something that, they've been doing better with in general at DC. I think this was something that was missing, sorely during the New 52. So, it's really good stuff. I liked it a lot. And Robbi Rodriguez's art is really solid in the book.
Right.
I think the colors are especially great as well. So it's that thing where it's never been quite as good as that original artist that was on it, admittedly, but it's been a really solid, consistent art. Yeah, Jorge Corona.
Yeah,
that was the one. So, but really solid. All the Batgirls look great in their outfits, and so I really don't have that much to complain about. I think it's a great issue. Not quite as exciting as last issue, but a really good middle chapter to this. What I assume is a 4-issue arc, because we've got 2 issues left. So, all right, what are you giving Batgirls issue 18?
I'm going to give this an 8.
I think I agree with. I'll go 8.5. I'm really having a good time. I'll go 8.5.
There you go.
All right, cool. The Vigil, issue 1, Ram V writing, Trevor Herstein. Wait, not Trevor Herstein. Sorry, this is me copying old episodes and editing them as I've forgotten to take out someone. So yeah, Ram V writing with Lalit, Kumar, Sharma on the art. So this is, obviously we were looking forward to this because it's Ram V. We like his work typically, and it's him introducing his Indian focused team of heroes, which operate kind of like a squad, not quite Suicide Squad. They're different to that.
No, it definitely feels like an espionage team. Like this felt like Checkmate.
Yeah, it feels. I would describe it as they were supposed to be the government Suicide Squad, but as we find out, the scientist who was kind of in charge of it all has obviously kept them separate and put them off to the side, and so it's a little bit of a Doom Patrol setup. But I would say tonally, it feels more like the Silencer, and that's maybe where the espionage side comes into it.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's what this made me think of. Not because the story's similar, but I just And I was getting kind of vibes of that as I was reading it. I think this is an excellently structured first issue. I think it does some really smart things with how it introduces the various elements of the story, so that some things matter later on in the issue. It can be hard to do that in one issue.
And I know that they wanted to set them up in those Lazarus Planet stuff and whatever, but I almost wish this was our first taste of them.
Yeah,
because I feel like seeing them and being surprised, because we kind of saw what some of their powers were or whatever and how they operate, but when we see them work as a team when they go to get back this boat that's been taken over by pirates, It's, oh my god, like you said, it's so well structured. Like zero issues following the action was, and once you piece together what they're doing to get everyone in the same room, it hits at the perfect time.
And it's not even just that moment. No, I think the way it sets up this boat situation and how it intersperses that as it's setting up stuff with like these other characters before it gets to the actual team doing the mission. I think all of that is paced wonderfully, and we'll talk about it in a second. But you don't need to have read their appearances in that one Detective Comics or the Lazarus Planet one shot. This works perfectly as an issue one. No need for any of that, which is the polar opposite of the Spirit World issue one, which you did have to read that thing. So yeah, so basically we see these pirates taking over this boat near Thailand, I think they said, and we're introduced to this character in the park in Mumbai, where this woman's been given this job from this older guy to basically take over the team, right? To sort of like be the liaison for the Vigil and actually work with them. And this guy, and it sets up a joke later on actually, but he says that he wants to go and move somewhere where he can take a shit without worry that he's going to get shot while he's in the toilet seat. That actually comes back later because a team does kill him and he's sitting in the toilet seat at the end of the issue when he's dead.
That was gutting.
That made me laugh.
Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Be careful what you wish for, old man.
That was a dark bit of humor, but it made me chuckle. No, so she's given this folder of the team, like who the names are, and we're introduced to kind of basically the scientists that sort of like help give them all their powers, right? They're Calder, if you will. We basically see him talking to these military types, and they're basically, oh, this is a whole failure. Like this entire thing's a failure. And he basically goes along with the idea that he's just an idiot, and they sort of talk down to him. And when he leaves the room, they say, "Ah, smart guy, my ass," or something like that. Like they're really sort of belittling him, and it's all an act on his part because he doesn't want them suspecting that he has succeeded. He's set up this team to all have superpowers, but he's basically decided that they shouldn't be with the government. They shouldn't be with the country's government. They should be independent. And we see him leave and go and meet up with this woman character who's going to help run the place now. So it's Dr. Sankaran is the scientist. And
the Miss Saha is the one lady.
Yeah, Saha. Nia Saha is the young lady who's now taken the role over from the old guy. So he takes her to the base. And as this is playing out though, we also see the Vigil like sneaking up on the boat, so it's like jumping between the two plots. And this is what I say when I talk about the structure, is that all throughout that original stuff, like the first 8 pages of the book, whatever it is, where we're getting introduced to Saha and we're getting introduced to the scientist and we're getting introduced to what's going on and like the mystery of like, oh, you've been brought into this secret mission and you're going to be part of this team now, you're going to help run it, whatever. Throughout all of that, there's constant like things, just every so often, like the news in the background talking about the boat hostage situation. It's just constantly coming up throughout the issue. So by the time you see like the little boat going towards the big ship with the Vigil on it, it actually feels exciting. It feels exciting because they've spent all issue like setting up that this crisis is happening and that no one's doing anything to solve it. So you get kind of excited, and then that's where the what you were talking about earlier comes in, where we're seeing them sneak around the boat, and it shows us how at least some of their powers work. We get the one with the mask who can take off the mask. It's explained to us that his face, his skin like doesn't like attach to his body properly, and it takes like medication or whatever to like keep it upright. But the mask that he's got was designed to read the like someone else's face. So we see him put it on a guard's face after he's knocked him out, and he puts it on his own face. And it's like all the electrical little things in the mask basically make his face into this other guy. So he's like a master of disguise who can switch to anyone else for a limited time. It won't last forever. Eventually, his face will sort of lose shape. But that it clearly shows that. It shows you him use the mask and then turn into this other guy. And then, of course, we get the explanation from the Doctor as well.
From the Doctor, yeah. And I like all that scene, too, because when we see, was it Dodge moving through, like the Flash, right? The motion blur on the art.
Yeah.
With all the colors, it looks so cool.
I don't think she's actually, because she's not a speedster. She's not got Speed Force powers, but...
No, that's what I mean, though. But the way that she's moving quicker, right, than they can perceive,
Yeah,
right?
I just want to make that clear though. She's not as fast
Yeah.
as a Flash. She's just
Right.
moving too quick for the cameras to pick up, which means
Right.
she's going quicker than a 30th of a second, basically.
Right.
Assuming it's 30 frames per second.
Because it says she has an extraordinary amount of fast twitch muscle fiber in her body. They refresh her skeletal structure to let her body deal with the strain. The reason you can't see her though is because she's moving faster than the camera can record.
Yeah.
So just the way that they show that with the blurs and stuff, it looks super cool. Like I like the way that looks.
Yeah, no, it's super neat, and it sets up these different characters, and it also sets up there's a little bit of a darkness to them where they'll save the hostages, but they're not really all that fussed about them. It's more about getting to this device, like the whole pirate thing is basically like they're here for this device, this LexCorp device or whatever it is that's in the cargo, and basically the Vigil are hunting down technology and stuff that they don't think the world should have access to yet because it's too dangerous. And it's like, saving the hostages is convenient because no one will question things because there's such a happy ending. Like, people won't look too much into the device being missing. And they're going to track where it was going as well, which might be relevant later, it may not be. But it's this weird, was it waveform emitter? Honestly, it sounded kind of like the thing from Batman Begins. But
Roz was going to use the microwave thing to destroy the water supply.
Yeah.
To send Gotham, turn it on itself.
So anyway, they destroy this thing, and there's also a tease that the big muscly guy in the base that's been talking to Saha has powers as well, because we see his eyes light up just towards the end. But the final page is this SWAT team going after the old guy that she replaced and killing him when he's on the toilet seat, which made me laugh. And we see this villain. Sort of like he's here to. Actually, he may not be dead yet. He's still kind of talking. Actually, now I'm talking about it. But he's basically there to question him because they keep talking about how the person funding the Vigil, it's not a doctor. There's someone bankrolling them called Mr. Lightless, and that's who this SWAT team guy with the weird eyes is trying to find out about. He wants to know who Mr. Lightless is. So there's there's a lot of stuff here, but I think this first issue does a great job of introducing the key concept, the team, who the main players with powers are, and who this character who's the newcomer, who's our conduit to learn all these things. Like, it does a solid introductory job of who these characters are and what this book is. So I thought this was a great first issue, honestly. I thought this set things up perfectly well.
After reading them Lazarus Planet and then Detective, I was a little bit doubtful about it, but then that's what I get. That's how silly I am. Who am I to doubt Ram V at this point? Because this issue was surpassed any expectations I had for it based off of the two other ones.
And it is difficult, right, to get us into a new comic where it's all original characters,
right?
And maybe that's why I also thought of the Silencer, because that was the other that was the good
Original.
example of that, where at least during our time in this show where that was a new character, and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And that was a case where I wasn't expecting it from the creative team, but it ended up being really good.
Right. And here too, because it's it's set in the DC universe based off what some of the people are saying, right? Like, there's a Kite Man reference.
There is,
talking about how the Americans are so much better at the superpowered thing than we are. They even have kite themed.
Do you know what that sounded like? It sounded like when China were trying to make their superheroes. This was India trying to make their own superheroes, and that's what they're. They think they've failed, but in reality, the doctor's just nah. This shouldn't be in the government. This should be a separate thing.
Right. Because he's responsible. That's because we've seen what happens when the government is in charge of superheroes. You get the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Right?
But at the same time, it sounds like they might also make morally grey choices if they think, or at least if he thinks is right. Maybe we'll explore that as we go on. But as far as the first issue goes, to get me invested in what's going on, I thought this set up a conflict, this boat thing. It built up to it really well. It gave me characters that helped me introduce to the characters that are in the story. It was a solid introductory first issue that was introducing a lot of moving parts, and I feel like I'm along for the ride and I'm not being left behind because there's too much going on. I think this was great. I came out of this feeling really positive.
Me too. And I like all the new characters too, because I like anytime you give me a new character that's so unlike anything. So Saya, the guy with the bone disease,
Mm-hmm.
right? The fact that he can, be a master disguise for a hot second, and he got back into the room, like I thought that was a really cool use of that. So like, yeah, and I'm wondering what this other guy's power is down at the end, to see how he fits in.
Curious about that, and also it's worth mentioning, like they shoot the pirate in the back. This is not a superhero where it's like they'll take them in alive or anything. They'll just execute them without mercy. Right. So we're getting that type of team. We're getting those types of characters. So
for sure.
Really good. I am on board for issue 2. Needless to say. What are you giving the Vigil issue 1, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
I think I agree with the 8.5, yeah. I think I'll agree with that. So yeah, cool. Cyborg issue 1. Morgan Hampton writing with Tom Raney on the art. So Cyborg's back in Detroit. And we have the big thing from this issue, though, the real, and we're dealing with Victor's daddy issues again, which could be a negative. I will say, though, it's a little bit different when you're actually advancing the story by saying, no, his dad is dead. Like, this book starts off with him getting a phone call. He's mid-fight. Right. He's not answering, but when he finally answers it, the reveal is that his dad's died via heart attack. Although, obviously the ending does kind of bring him back, kind of, but...
Right, but the fact that it was a heart attack and the fact that Dr. Stone was like this super scientist when it came to technology and stuff, it was like one of those things, like no matter what Victor could have done, he can't stop that, right? It's kind of like in Superman the movie, the reason why Pa Kent's death's so effective is it's something that Clark couldn't prevent. So... I did like that choice here. It wasn't like a villain got him. It wasn't anything else. It was, it was a heart attack. It was something that's just regular. And how Victor's going to deal with that because his dad pushed him. And then I like here that they bring up that he was never more than a science project to Dad. That's how he felt after the accident. And for the first time in a while, that was like the most clear and coherent statement on Cyborg's origin. And now that we got it out, I feel like we can move past that.
Yeah, and he's going to therapy. He's talking about the funeral. You see the Titans at the funeral. Obviously they're mostly dressed in suits, but Dick still get his mask on. I did love though. There's one detail I really like though, which is that Donna has a black dress on that's just a little bit sparkly to mimic the stars on her usual outfit. I thought that was quite funny.
The one that got me was Wally in full Flash uniform with the mask, with the cowl, while wearing a tuxedo or a suit.
Yeah, I was gonna say tuxedo. People don't wear tuxedos to funerals.
No, with a suit, because with Dick, I get he just puts the domino mask on, right? He's Nightwing. Flash is wearing a full headpiece, and that I know it's a funeral. It's supposed to be, but that made me laugh, like just because it looks so funny. So,
yeah, no, it's I think it's a pretty solid first issue. Not great. But I do like I think the art's quite nice. It's different. It's got kind of a thick lines, kind of cartoony vibe to it that I think makes it feel a little bit distinct. I think it suits I think it suits Cyborg actually. I think his hair looks really good in this art style for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just because it's more inky and got thicker lines, but like it looks like it works with him. So, it sets up that his ex-girlfriend was the one that was calling him to tell him about his dad. The one thing they do here that I'm not sure about yet is that there's this angry reporter who's talking about how much she hates Cyborg.
Yeah, and her whole dumbass of the week statement, to me it was super overwritten, and I get what they're doing. It's a show media coming out against Cyborg, and it's not great for Detroit, and but yeah, it was very heavy-handed.
It was also a tough couple of pages to read because it was just lots of panels of her talking, and then there was also the on-screen chat at the side to read. There was a lot going on.
Which a lot of those were repeated because I went back and read them all just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Of course. So, I appreciate that it is actually trying to take Cyborg's story forward, although the realization that his dad has put his mind basically into a robot body. Because at the end of the issue, we've got this weird robot body walking towards the family home as Victor's walking about reminiscing about all the old memories. And
Yeah, and I like that they go to his family home because after his accident, they kind of moved out of there because because in this one, did the accident that got him also get his mom, or did mom die before? I can't
No,
remember.
mom died later.
Okay, so
I
it was
think.
after he had the accident and they all moved out. So I like when he goes there, everything looks the same, but there's like this thick layer of dust, you know. Um, but yeah, as he's talking about,
No, maybe it was
his
before. I'm doubting myself now.
yeah,
But
so like, cause like,
it doesn't matter.
but it doesn't matter. But it was after his accident they moved, and his dad just basically spent all the time in the lab, right? Um, and stuff, and focusing on the project that was Victor. But like as this robot is heading towards the house, and he's talking about his dad's room and his room, and then the robot goes into the dad's room and like gets into the drawers. I'm like, what? And then I put it together, what this was.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's this robot walking down the street. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's weird and creepy looking." And it's a very creepy robot design. It's very sleek.
Yeah.
It's very skinny and like unhuman. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, it's like, "Father," and he's like, "Victor, by God, son, you've got the stuff of brilliance." So, and he's got a name tag as well, just in case you were confused about who it was.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think it does kind of neuter the because I was like kind of happy early on that he was dead, just because I was like, oh, this is actually well, no, just because this is actually a new thing. It's actually taking it forward, and like Victor actually dealing with his father after he's dead, and he has these like regrets, or is he even happy he's dead? That's something that's brought up. Like, does he feel that way?
Right, but like, is this his dad, or is this just an AI that thinks it's his dad?
I mean, that's a question. But I guess my concern is that I thought, okay, we're moving to a new area, but if his dad's just back in a slightly new form, then we're just going to like slide back into daddy issues again. It just happens to be a robot instead of a human now.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, we'll see. I'm curious. It definitely, this is the most a Cyborg book has hooked me early from all the times that I've tried. So I did like the joke though too with that weird news anchor where her sponsor is this ambulance chasing lawyer, but it's more specifically in Detroit. It's like, has a supervillain injured you? So as this robot's walking down Victor Street, one of the guys yells that he's going to call that lawyer, right? Because of
that's right, yeah.
I thought that was a fun little moment.
That was the other thing about that news segment is that it introduced two different characters in her reports, and I thought that was a bit awkward and clunky. Like
it was. Because
it introduced the reporter, it introduced the lawyer, the skeevy lawyer, who does like dodgy, like, oh, if a superhero like wrecked your car or injured you, like call me for a claim. It introduced him, and then it introduced this other scientist or guy or whatever he is, who tries to come and talk to Vic later, and I'm sure he'll be important for the plot. Like going forward,
so he has a company called SOLICITS, and they do like a lot of like genetic type stuff, and like you send them a sample of your saliva, and they'll get you on a workout routine and all this other stuff. And he worked with like Victor's dad, Silas, was one of his first investors. So it also feels like they're going to do some like, oh, this is the son that he always thought this is the son that he wanted. Because Victor talks when he's talking to his therapist about how his dad never really approved of him playing sports. Mom always kind of encouraged him to like be the best you, and if that means you're happy playing sports. And it almost feels like this kid was the Victor that Silas wanted him to be, right? The science guy. So as long as we don't tread on that too much, I think it can be okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a knockout the park like the other issue ones. But it was still solid enough. Like I still think it's potentially doing some interesting things with the character. But like all Cyborg books though, like I'm not like 100% convinced it's going to do anything super like notable with the character, but hopefully it does. And whether or not I read issue 2 is just entirely going to depend on how many other books are out that
week. Yeah.
But because this was definitely the lesser of the bunch, out of the issue ones. But if this was the worst issue 1 we read this week, then honestly, that's actually a really good going.
We're still doing pretty well. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, there you go. What you rating Cyborg?
I'm gonna give this a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I think 7 sounds good. I think that sounds good. So, that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books. So, what was your moment of the week, Matt?
So, I'd love to pick something from Brave and the Bold, but I feel like you're going to get that covered. So, I'm going to go from Titans, and it's when Gar becomes the gigantic Tamaranian predator and fights Titano. Because come on, it's kaiju. So.
That's fair. I mean, like, the first time the girl's talking to the Joker's phenomenal. The ending with the bat signal with the balloon going up out of the sky is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's death in front of Gordon with the smiling, phenomenal. Like,
why is he smiling?
Batman chasing the guy in the train yard with the rain, phenomenal. I'll go with the ending overall, but holy shit, that issue's full of moments. That issue's full of moments I could have picked. So, there you go. I have not had a chance to look at covers yet. I don't know if you have either. Well, you
Nope,
got any?
I have.
Okay, go on. What you got?
Yeah. So there's tons of covers this week. But the ones I'm mainly focused on were from Titans. So the main one by Nicola Scott is really good. It's very indicative of Titans. But Dan Mora did one, and it's got all of the team, but then the background is split off into like a rainbow cascade of stuff, and just the way that it's colors and the positions. That's my cover of the week.
Okay. Looking at Titans, there's a really, really like pervy, thirsty one of Starfire with tattoos of the Titans.
Yep, I didn't even look at it because I have to keep Pure Soul, sir.
But even just their face though, like they're going for kind of like like I don't know. People know what I'm talking about when they look at it. Like it's going for a look. That's all I'll say. So looking through them, there's a bunch that I'm just sort of like eyeing up right now. So there's a Batgirls variant by Robert Rodriguez, where it's like they've graffitied the title onto a wall. Cass and Steph, I think that looks really cool. There's a Behermo Superman cover, which looks really nice. I usually associate him with Batman, but it's a really nice shaded cover. World's Finest has a Redondo and Sampier cover, which looks really nice. Got a nice sort of harsh lighting effect on it. And I'm just looking at the other ones quickly. The main Vigil cover is pretty solid for what it is. I think though I'm probably going to pick. I'll go with the Behermo Superman cover. Yeah, it's really nice, and it's nice to see him do something that's not as dark and moody. I mean, his art's inherently got a bit of moodiness to it, but it's not
the way that it plays with the shadow and crevices and stuff too, even on that Superman cover. But that's just his style, right?
Yeah, that's just what his art is. So there you go. All right, art of the week.
Like, look, I always try to give it to Dan Mora, right? But like now we have Mitch Gerads.
Yes.
And then we have Nicola Scott.
Yes.
So this is like a heavyweight round.
It's a heavyweight round, but I still think it's easily Gerads.
Easy, yeah. Gerads came in there, just 2 rounds, knockout. There you go.
Like so. I obviously Scott's art was great. Obviously, Mora's art was great. I think Robbi Rodriguez was really solid on Batgirls. I think they are in both Vigil and Cyborg were pretty solid. Maybe not up to some of these other standards, but really good. But Gerads, like I was like page 1, I was like, oh my god, like I was drilling. Yep. Like that was instantly how I felt.
It's that good.
So, all right, top 5 books, Matt, go.
All right, so number 1's going to be the Batman Brave and the Bold story. 2 is Titans. 3 is Vigil. 4 is Batman Superman World's Finest. And 5 is... Do I do Batgirls or do I do... Yeah, I'll do Batgirls at 5.
All right, so number 1, main story from Brave and the Bold, unsurprisingly. Number 2... It's tough. This is actually really tough. It's a good week. Number 2, I think I'll go Vigil. Number 3, Titans. Number 4, Batgirls. Number 5, World's Finest. I feel like it was a good week. Honestly, like Superman being a real mixed bag, like almost had a bit of a negative tone early on, but like honestly, and Flash was also a little bit underwhelming, but pretty good week. I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics then. So we are going to have Nightwing issue 104, which has the meme cover. That one where the guy puts his hands on his face and goes past the other guy who's standing all cool.
Yeah, Beast Boy is perfect for that too.
Yeah. So yeah, Nightwing 104, Action Comics 1055, Green Arrow issue 2, Harley Quinn issue 30, Justice Society of America issue 4, Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 3, Tim Drake Robin issue 9, City Boy issue 1, The Sandman Universe Dead Boy Detectives issue 6, and DC Ruby issue 4. So not as busy as this week, but a pretty healthy assortment. We got a new issue 1, JSA is back, Doom Patrol was really good, looking forward to action. So
did you see who's on the cover of Doom Patrol?
I didn't.
It's our 2 favorite lanterns. Well, Jess might be your actual favorite lantern, but your other favorite one.
My second favorite lantern, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and your mistaken favorite lantern.
Yes, we have Guy and Kyle, and they're in hot pursuit of I'm really liking that Doom Patrol book.
Yeah, Doom Patrol book's great. The first 2 issues were both fantastic, so I'm having a great time with that. I'm surprised there's no detective next week. But I guess it got, because it's been the same week as Action for a while. But
yeah, I got pushed to the next week because there's nothing in the next week but the Power Girl special, then the Pride special.
Oh, so week 5. So
and Suicide Squad kill Arkham Asylum, but I don't think
we might have to get some questions or something for that week, because week 5 this month has detective. You'll probably read the Power Girl special
for sure.
And I guess we'll read the DC Pride. Normally those anthology books we'll usually skip, but there's nothing else that week, so we'll go for it, sure. So anyway, that is the show. You can let us know what you thought of this week's comics in the comments or on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All those things help out a lot. But of course, what helps us most is going to be patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us over there for any amount you feel like per month. $5 and up, you get early access to the show whenever it's ready late in the Saturday. So it'll be there, at the very least, it'll be there Sunday morning for you before all the regular people get it. But go support the show. But that is us. That has been episode 357 of Comics from the Multiverse. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.